On this special edition of Homeworthy, we're bringing you a marathon of holiday magic. We start in Chicago, where a whimsical 1970s bungalow is filled with vintage charm. Then we head to Arizona for a French-inspired Chinoiserie Christmas, layered with garlands and warm glow. From there, we visit a woodland cottage in New Jersey, where antiques create a nostalgic storybook holiday. And next, we step inside a historic southern mansion transformed with lush florals and dreamy color stories. Finally, we end in Los Angeles, California, where a glamorous home hosts a festive Christmas cocktail party, complete with signature drinks, sparkling decor, and friends gathered together. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Melissa Parks. This is my Chicago home. I would love to show you around. Welcome.
This Christmas, Homeworthy invites you into a season of wonder. Over the next 25 days, we're stepping into homes that sparkle with holiday cheer, where garlands tumble from mantels, ornaments hang like tiny treasures, and every corner comes alive with joy, merriment, and the spirit of the season.
And I don't know how many ornaments are on the tree. Last year I got 1,400 on, and they were made all over the world. There were ones made in America, Poland, Italy, Japan, just a wide variety, and I love them all.
We'll visit homes where traditions are cherished, where beauty is made by hand, and where rituals become memories that last a lifetime.
We make about 400 of these rolls every year, and on Christmas Eve, our family delivers them to certain families within the area, and our kids get to participate in choosing who gets them.
From quiet moments by the fire to happy gatherings around the table, we're celebrating the way the holidays transform our spaces and fill them with magic.
We do quite a dressy table because it's Christmas and it's a party and you want it to feel special, but you also, it's nice to make the table a little bit kind of imperfect, a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I want people to feel at a party in my home as if they're kind of wearing a ball gown but going barefoot. You know, it's that kind of high-low moment, the kind of specialness, but also the coziness of being really comfortable.
So pour something warm, settle in, and join us for Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas, a season-long celebration of holiday magic. To watch Homeworthy's entire Christmas collection ad-free, visit homeworthyplus.com or scan the QR code on screen. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Melissa Parks, also known as McGillicuddy. I'm an antiques and vintage dealer here in Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to my home. I got into vintage and antiques dealing about 16 years ago, and it was really because I have such a small house. And I love vintage and used and thrifted items, and my house was bursting at the seam. And so a friend said, hey, there's a little community flea market down the street. How about you sell some of your stuff? So at the urging of friends, I packed up a bunch of my surplus and headed to this little fair at the campground down the road, and had a very successful show. That was probably about 16, 17 years ago. And after that, the bug bit me, and I started to do other shows in the Chicagoland area. I started at Kane County Flea Market out in St. Charles, Illinois, and then I did Randolph Street Market in downtown Chicago. I did Gray's Lake, and then I just got tired and my body could not stand the work anymore, and so I transitioned to selling in a brick and mortar. So I've been doing it for about 15 years, and each year I learn a little bit more about what customers really want and delights them. I love unique, individual, decorative items. Lots of designers use my items in photo shoots, and hotels use my items to decorate their spaces. So it's a joy to be able to connect people with historical items and connect stories to the next story. We're here in our living room, our teeny little living room where a lot of living takes place, and It is a very cheery place this holiday season, and when you walk through the front door, this is what you see, and I call it my George Bailey moment because I had a friend, Kelly Makrens from Instagram, offer to make this for me last year after I posted something on Instagram stories while watching It's a Wonderful Life, and I fell in love with the Merry Christmas sign. And so for the past few months, we've been working on designing this. I should say she's been working on designing this Merry Christmas sign and just getting my approval. And it's just so whimsical the way it kind of hangs, suspends in air. People always want to know about this beaded pipe cleaner garland. It is actually vintage. It is Japanese mercury glass and pipe cleaner. So you can find it on eBay. I found some on eBay, thrift stores, flea markets. But I've also had friends on Instagram who have made it themselves. So you can do it yourself if you can't find any. And it just is so much fun. It's kind of crafty looking, but also one of a kind. I like to stick little birds up in the signs just to make kind of a foresty effect, which I think works really well with this large painting that I got. I think it's a backdrop from maybe a theater production. I got it at the flea market. It's such a great story. I had $10 left in my pocket and I found this. And the woman who was selling was actually selling on behalf of her brother, and her brother wasn't there. And I said, I only have $10. She goes, you can take it. And this is probably worth, at least $100, $200. So that was my lucky day, but I love it as a backdrop. It has kind of a cinematic, foresty, Christmassy feel, which is a wonderful backdrop for my bottle brush tree collection. I've been collecting these probably for about 25 years, and it started as all collections do with just one, and now I have no idea, it's too many. I add them every year and it's grown, I don't know, there's probably about 60, 70, I don't know. And they're all varieties. They're made in Japan, and they have lots of them are different, but mercury glass beading and like just some rickrack. Some of them have fruit, and they're just super fun. You can find them on eBay and antique stores. Warehouse 55, where I work, has lots of them. And they run between like 40 all the way up to like 100. I started collecting them when they were like $18 a piece, and you can still find some bargains. Last year I found a whole bunch for cheap. This piece right here is actually a folk art piece, handmade. And if you look closely at it, it's constructed of chicken wire and then also inverted pop cans or Coca-Cola cans, and they're fringed, and then they're stuck on the chicken wire, and then these bulbs were all stuck on there. And then I, of course, had to add some more little doodads to make it truly festive. So my best advice for people looking to start a bottle brush tree collection is to start with one, pay between $30 to $65 for a mid-size. Maybe you can find one for a little bit less for a smaller size. Now we're going to go to this corner of the room. It's such a small house, we have to have a place for our television. My husband would kill me if I said we couldn't have a television. So you just make the most of it. And we put up here this giant clamshell, which usually has alabaster grapes in it. But for the holidays, I stuck a bunch of vintage ornaments and then put in some more bottle brush tree. This is actually a vintage, actually an antique feather tree, which is a little bit different than bottle brush. It's actually made out of feathers, and I have so much fun putting little bottle brush tree ornaments and small garland on it. This one is a lot of fun. I got this at an estate sale. It's so wonky. Again, it's handmade and it's feathers and all these weird little ornaments stuck in there. I feel like this represents how I decorate. Just add more and it just looks fun, and I love how it looks. This is actually, I know paper chains are having a moment right now, and I got this one. It's actually fabric, feed sack fabric chain that I layered here. And again, this is something you could totally do on your own. I know I've seen lots of makers on Instagram making them. Some more pipe cleaner garland and some more vintage garland. These two chairs were actually They're swivel chairs, and they came from one of my best friend. Her husband's mother passed away, and so they sat in my house with just some pretty plain upholstery, and I had them reupholstered in a fabric by Virginia Craft Textiles, and I think they're really festive and fun. Up here is another corner. This has a lot of my collections in it, my regular collections, not many Christmas stuff, much Christmas stuff in there. And when I think of vignettes, I like to think in terms, as I said, of telling a story. And so this is kind of like a little, I don't know what kind of story it's telling, but I started with this cruel bird item, which kind of lays nicely against this antique Chinese tapestry. And I thought, oh, it's kind of a woodland theme. So we're going to build off of that woodland theme as that theme is repeated throughout the house, and put a tree which isn't very woodlandy and another tree. And I think one of the great joys of Christmas is that you can add little baubles to just about everything. This joy sign is actually not a sign, they're little candlesticks, but instead of putting candles in, I just put tiny little vintage ornaments. This is actually a Christmas tree with pins and beads, which anybody could make. This one happens to be vintage, but anybody could make it. This gold pine cone thing was just a regular pine cone shade, and I spray painted it gold so it matched my decor, and then put some antique bird ornaments. I have lots of antique bird ornaments throughout the house. So then over here is our sofa lounging area. This is a Facebook Marketplace sofa that was pretty ugly. It was free. The owner said, you know, if you come and get it now, you can have it for free. Somebody else wants it, but you can have it if you come right now. And so I jumped in the truck, went and bought it, and because it's expensive to reupholster things and I didn't have money at the time, I just put it in the basement and said, someday in the future we'll get it done. And so after about 3 years, we decided to have it recovered, and I picked a stripe, which I've always wanted a striped sofa. I think that they're timeless, even though they're a pattern, and I do love pattern, so it works well. These are actually late 1800s silk embroidered chinoiserie screens that were once together acting as a screen. I separated them, and I thought that it elevated the room a little bit, and they're a really special piece, handmade, really delicate. I love peacocks for some reason. I have a lot throughout my home, and I like that these are peacocks without being really brash and bold. I love to collect antique seascapes. I have some in my bedroom and some in the front porch, but here I have a collection of them, and also another peacock. These are in really lovely old frames and have a little Christmas moment here with a poinsettia. They're kind of old-fashioned, but they remind me of my childhood and my mother always having poinsettias around the house. They feel very nostalgic to me, so I thought that I'd include them in my holiday decor. So now we're gonna walk to the dining space, which is basically with the living space. It's a very open concept home. I love the dining room, even though it's compact and teeny. I got this marble table for $10 at a thrift store. It's probably one of my favorite finds. It's an Italian piece, probably from the 1980s, and I love how narrow it is. I got these chairs at Goodwill for $3.99 a piece, and I keep on thinking of having them recovered again, but for now they work well. So I think of this whole dining room, it was about $25, which is really amazing. And then the vintage chandelier was $40. And somebody said that they thought it looked like a garden hose. Actually, lots of people, when I first put it up, people on Instagram like, it's a garden hose, but I think it is so fabulous. It kind of has a French Art Deco vibe to me, which I think is very fun, and obviously picks up kind of the gold and green tones that I am so fond of. And of course, at Christmas, I can't help myself, and I just go all out with decorating, and even the chandelier. I wanted to continue the forest theme and the whimsical, really over-the-top theme that I'm so fond of. And so I affixed a couple of vintage wreaths to the bottom, and then dangled some old bottle brush garland from the middle, and then put lots of vintage garland throughout, and of course more birds. But it just feels so whimsical, and with Christmas you really can get away with more than usual, and people, I think, feel cheered by it. It feels like a grandma's Christmas, and I think that that's when I've always been my happiest, is at Christmas with my family. So anyway, I try to evoke that when I'm decorating for Christmas. Another poinsettia. I figured I had to keep this kind of calm because everything else in the house is not calm. So over here at the buffet, this is a free dumpster dive. We're going to my son's soccer game, or coming home from his soccer game, and this was on the side of the road, and my husband had to be somewhere. I'm like, I'm sitting on top of this until you can come back with the truck. And so I looked like a crazy person, I'm sure. It was a piece of junk, really. It had really bad painting on top, but the green was there. And of course, green is kind of my signature color. And so I like it. It's tons of storage, which is ideal for a small space, and it's hardworking, and I appreciate that. And to kind of make it a little bit fancier, yeah, I like the mix of fancy plus maybe a little bit more pedestrian. I have a selection of Florentine gold mirrors, and I just stack them. That's one way that I kind of maximize my space while also living with collections, is find a way to layer with them. And I do the whole layering again here with my bottle brush wreaths, which again are from the same era as the bottle brush trees. They're from Japan. They come in a variety of colors and sizes, and it just is such a festive little moment. And I don't know if you can see from far away, but I hang all these with fishing line, and so when you're far away it's pretty transparent, but looks like it's kind of floating. I try to use items that are part of my everyday collection, like these alabaster bird baths. So I put my trees in those, and I think it's just a fun little moment. And the alabaster bird baths really echo the alabaster lamps. And I put a little ribbon bunting around the lamps just for a festive touch. Then I put a tree, which is another folk art piece, like the big tree on my piano. It's made out of pop cans also, and painted gold. And I think it's a fun little mix with the portrait beneath. Over here is my Christmas tree, which I love and let my maximalist heart go to work. When my mom was here helping me decorate it, I had probably like 5 bins, and she's like, there's no way that's all gonna fit. I'm like, yes, it will all fit. So I don't know, there are probably over 1,000 ornaments on here, and it's one of my most favorite days of the year, is pulling out the bins and pulling out each ornament and handling them and finding the perfect spot on the tree. I have a variety of vintage ornaments, antique ornaments. My favorite are these beaded ornaments. It started again with just one, and at one point I said, I want to have an entire tree full of vintage beaded ornaments. They're made in Japan. They're vintage, made in Japan pieces, and also Czechoslovakian pieces, and also some Russian beadwork. You can still find Czechoslovakian beadwork today, newer pieces, but on eBay you can find lots of Czechoslovakian beaded and Japanese vintage beaded ornaments if you're looking to find some for yourself. I get some each year, so it's pretty full. I also have a mix of German and Polish and some American glass ornaments and Italian. This Italian ornament is just spectacular. I have 3 of them, and they're super fragile, and I'm always afraid each year that they're gonna break. And then I put some birds throughout, and I have these little candle lights which mimic the 1920s and Victorian era, when they'd actually put candles on trees, which seems like a terrible fire hazard, but I wanted to echo that look. I'm very inspired by those gaudy trees from the Victorian era in all the way up to the 1920s, where they just stick everything on the tree. And this feels like a life-size bottle brush tree to me, which is really the look I'm going for. I use mercury glass vintage beaded garland. This is Japanese again. The bigger pieces are more rare than the smaller ones, and I like the multicolored ones just because then it unifies all the colors from the tree. And it's taken me, goodness, probably 25, 26 years to get all of these garlands to fill it in completely. I found my first in the trash, and I blame Trash Day for starting this collection. Somebody was getting rid of a bunch of ornaments and garland, and I picked up that one right there. I love to use garland over doorways at Christmas. It's a lot, but I love having a lot at Christmas. And this is a really cool garland. It's made out of honeycomb paper, and these little packages are foil and mercury glass beading. And I just put a little bird up there for a little moment. And then over here, you can see that I framed the tree with a collection of antique mirrors, and I did that intentionally to reflect the sparkle from the tree and also to use my antique mirror collection, which goes away once January hits, but I like having them out during the holiday season, and I think that they work even though they're a lot. Here I have a variety of vintage garland, and I'll point them out because people always ask me about them. This is actually foil, candy foil wrapper with mercury glass in between. You can make this yourself. It's really cool, but this is vintage. Then I have some bubblegum wrapper garland that somebody made, and I tried to make some once, and it's painstakingly hard to do. And then some more honeycomb and just gaudy garland, and I just think it's so wonderful. My packages under my tree are made from vintage wrapping paper that I had custom tinted to fit my color palette, and I really love decorating presents. I blame this on my mother, but I get vintage millinery flowers and velvet ribbon and vintage birds and some feathers, and it just makes each package look bespoke and special, and like what they're getting is going to be special as well. Lots of people say, I wouldn't want to open it, and that's kind of the goal, is like the packaging should be as special as that which is inside. So I think wrapping presents is probably the most fun you can have during the holiday season. We live in a 1920s Chicago bungalow, and it is a teeny little house. The square footage is about 1,000 square feet, and we found it when I was going to graduate school at Loyola University, and my husband was working out in the suburbs, and it was halfway in between. And I think I always imagined this just being our starter house, and it's not my dream house by any stretch of the imagination, but then we got rooted in our community and have friends here, and so we have stayed, and frankly it's really expensive to move to a bigger house, so we are making do with what we have. When we moved in, it was really bad. There were ugly blinds around the windows, Berber carpet on the floor. It was just ugly. The kitchen was especially horrible. It had probably about 5 different types of wallpaper, a faux brick, plasticky looking wallpaper, and a daisy orange, yellow and brown wallpaper on the ceiling, and turquoise cabinets, if you can imagine, and ugly brown stuff. It was a hot mess. So I'm particularly proud of the kitchen, which we've actually had like it is for about 20 years. We haven't remodeled for where the toilet is, and again, it was just so strange the things that they did. They had yellow tile all the way up. They had cupboards actually in the shower, which I can't fathom why they would put cupboards in a wet area, but they did have that, and turquoise appliances and sinks. It was horrible. So we've pretty much touched every corner, with paint, redid the hardwood floors. And of course, because I love to decorate, I've added a lot of decorative touches over the years. I'm antsy. My husband says I'm discontent, but I just think I have a creative spirit and want things to always be fresh and interesting. And now we're gonna go into the kitchen. And this is one room that we remodeled after living here a couple years, and I think it's stood the test of time. Of course, I'd like some open shelving and have it a little bit more furniture-y looking, but for this house, it feels like it's okay, and it gives me ample space to show off my McCoy pottery collection that I've been collecting for, gosh, 27, 28 years. It was kind of accidental when we were building the kitchen. My husband was going to put cabinets up there, and he didn't put them on quick enough, so I started to put stuff up there. And before long, they were all filled up, and he never put cabinet doors on them. So now it's just a place to display my pottery collection, and I actually think that it looks best at Christmas because of the green. It's one of my favorite collections, and something that I always look for now. And as a collector, you have to limit yourself. So now that I have so much, I'm now looking for only rare pieces, perfect pieces, and pieces that are super cheap and I just have to rescue. Because as you can see, not much more can fit up there. I have a trio of these brass lotus lights. They are mid-century, and this is probably my favorite thing in the kitchen and one of my best finds ever. I was out in Bremerton, Washington. My parents have a boat, and we were out there and we were moored there, and there was this itty bitty little flea market that I had to go to. And so we went, and I saw one of these on the floor. I'm like, oh, I love them. And I think there were two, and I was looking for pendant lights for the kitchen. And she said, oh, I actually have a big one too down here. And so I looked down, and there's the big one, and then there was actually a fourth one that I have someplace else. And so I got all of them for $150, which is an incredible price because they can be like $1,400, $1,500, sometimes $2,800 a piece. So $150 for four was an incredible deal, and I love them. I think that they add both a contemporary feel, but also with the brass, kind of an old world feel as well. I use this moment also to decorate for Christmas. I think that this is such a fun way to display these holiday picks. They're vintage, to put them in a peacock. It looks like the peacock is spanning its feathers, which makes for a fun moment, and some of my beaded tree collections with some brass deer. I have just some more McCoy pottery, but in the form of pitchers where I hold utensils. I also collect shell utensils, shell handles, mother of pearl handled items, and then there's some utilitarian stuff because this is a kitchen. I think a nice lamp warms up the space in a kitchen, makes it feel a little bit more lived in, and then this cart is overflow for more of my McCoy pottery collection and bowls, and we actually do use the bowls frequently for salads and baking and for anything that needs a bowl, but I probably don't need like 30 of them. So of course, this is just a collector's moment because I love more. I had this wallpaper made recently. I had an antique fabric that I really loved. I didn't know what to do in here, and I loved the fabric. It was a little bit too light blue though, so I took it to a designer, had her scan it in, and then color corrected it so that it had a richer tone, and I think it's fun. I went all the way around the kitchen, and it just envelops you and makes you feel cozy. It may be a little much for some people. My husband certainly thought it was a lot because he had to install it, and my son did too, and they did not have fun doing that. It's really hard to define your style. I think every person who loves decorating never knows exactly how to define their style, and eclectic decor feels so general. And so I've landed kind of on folklore maximalism because a lot of my pieces have kind of a folky, storied past. I love individual items with a handmade touch, and I love stuff. So I'm definitely a maximalist and a collector. And if you'll see throughout the house, I have tons and tons of collections at Christmas as well as in my non-Christmas home, which you won't see as much of today. I love collections, which means you have to find a way to live with collections so that they don't overwhelm you. And so I've become really strategic about how I layer things, like I layer my mirrors and group like things together, and thinking in terms of color story and items that relate and tell a story together. I love vignetting and creating moments that tell that story and make you feel something. I'm very big into narrative style. So that's kind of how it all evolved, having to live with my collections and figuring out how to live with them in such a small footprint, and with, a family, my husband and son. They need a place to put their drink and to kick up their feet as well. So it can't be tchotchke after tchotchke after tchotchke after tchotchke. And I don't even like that word, because I don't think that they're tchotchkes. I think they're delicious little storied finds. So this is my hallway, and it has been hand painted by my son's girlfriend. She spent hours upon hours hand painting this. I had a design in mind that I wanted, and she executed it for me, which is really wonderful, because I don't draw, I don't paint, but I have a vision. And so she spent time doing this for me. And I love this moment because it's a little jewel of a room. I think when you have a small house, you got to make the most of it and create these little moments, and it connects the bedrooms and the bedroom area of the house with the rest of the house, so they had to speak to each other. So I picked a blue-green and then a deeper kind of olivey green, which in this light you can't really tell. It looks a little bit different, but it really is a fun, whimsical moment. And again, maximalist. And in the hallway, I have hung my collection of 60 beaded bell ornaments. And I guess this is my nod to George Bailey as well. Every time a bell rings, angel gets its wings. And so I have lots of bells in here. Again, started collecting probably about 27 years ago and added one by one. And I've been so fortunate. People from Instagram have sent me pieces to add to my collection. So now I think I'm about up to 60. I counted them the other day, and they're just a fun, enchanting thing to have. It's a very enchanting moment. And if you're super tall, you're going to bump your head, but that's okay. When we have our caroling party every year, we pack like 40 people in this house, which is insane. And I always get stressed out about it because our house is so small, and it ends up being such a wonderful time. People love being packed in together. And we actually come in the hallway. There's overflow in the hallway because there's just not enough room. And last year we did an Instagram reel where we all jumped in by the bells. It was like having your own personal photo booth, and it's just so much fun. So I think my big advice is, if you have a small house, don't let it limit the joy that you bring into it, because people don't really care about the size. They care about the feeling that you create. And you can do that with or without decorations, but certainly the decorations help, I think, create that magical, cozy feeling. Now we're going to head into our bathroom. So here we are in our bathroom. As you can tell, I love green. I've already said it's my signature color, and this is a Huga and West print that I got about 9 years ago. I don't even know if they have it anymore, but I guess that's a sign that I really like it if I still have it 9 years later. And it's a pattern that can really elevate a small space, especially because I have white wainscoting below, so it doesn't overwhelm the space. I have a collection here of vintage doodads to add a little festive spirit mixed in with some of my vintage art. I have some nude paintings in here. I collect nude paintings, much to my husband's dismay. I think these are tasteful, and they belong in a bathroom, I think. And then I have some more holiday decor in the window, more bottle brush trees. I have a collection of brass peacocks, which currently aren't out. I have one right there. Put a little wreath on them to get them in the holiday mood. I have this Louis Philippe mirror that I purchased at Warehouse 55, and it's just the perfect size there, and it was such a bargain. Sometimes those mirrors can be hundreds of dollars. And then I put one of these Dresden brass wreaths in front of it, which now are quite expensive. They're about, gosh, $200, $150. They're ridiculously expensive, but I've never spent more than $20. And then I elevated it or added my touch and added some ribbon, and I like how it's suspended there in front of the mirror. My design tip for people out there, especially people immersed in the Instagram world where we see so many wonderful and aspirational and inspiring homes, is to really be true to yourself and to embrace who you are in your decorating and not worry about what other people are going to think about you. Follow your heart, follow the colors that delight you, follow the patterns that delight you. Embrace a little bit of imperfection along the way, because none of us are perfect and none of our homes are perfect. So now we're in my home office, which is also really a place where I store a lot of the items that I'm going to be selling at my space at Warehouse 55, and I rotate items in and out, and they end up kind of leaning in a way that feels very loose and artistic, and I find inspiration by all the antique items that I surround myself with. This here is an old pier mirror that I found at an estate sale. It was really quite cheap. I think it was $100. And then later I found this platform at a flea market, and typically these are on platforms, so these didn't come together, but they ended up coming together, which was kind of serendipitous. And of course, more Christmas trees. Every room has a Christmas tree. And then I have these built-in bookcases, not for books, because unfortunately I prefer doodads over books. I have one of my favorite collections that you've seen in other rooms is this alabaster bird bath collection, and I just stack them, and I think they look super fun. And I also collect beaded flowers, French beaded flowers, and just a beaded whimsy, Iroquois beaded whimsy. I also have a stack of antique textiles, and then down here I have some memory ware, which I also collect. So this becomes, and tramp art up here is also something that I collect. So this becomes a space where a lot of my collections end up, and it's always rotating, and I'm always fiddling around because it's super fun. This here is actually a sofa bed. It was the sofa that was in my other room before the striped sofa came in. And it's a fairly ugly sofa, but I've covered it with an antique textile and pillows, and it's cozy. And it's actually a pull-out sofa so that when we have guests, there's a place for them to sleep. And sometimes they just sleep on the sofa because it is kind of a squishy, worn-in sofa, which really feels good. Got this painting at a flea market a couple years ago, and this is such a great story. There were two very old paintings, and the guy didn't know what he had. He was a junk dealer. He got junk out of people's houses and sold it. And I saw them, they were buried underneath the table. And so I offered him more than most people at that flea market would offer him. I think I paid $80 for two of them. And this one by itself would be, you know, hundreds of dollars, and lots of people really love it. So anyway, I sold the other, kept this one, but it's one of those things where you just have to look high and look low and be persistent in the hunt for things, and then you're rewarded with something truly special. I put this brass Merry Christmas sign up here just to add some festive touches and some more bubblegum wrapper. This tapestry is actually meant to hang on a wall. Instead, I used it as a layer on the sofa. I like layering patterns and textures, and this has a bit of that old world feel that I like to echo throughout the space. Over here I have more collections, more show art and beaded flowers, and also more alabaster bird baths, and just all of my favorite collections. And then this lucite bust, which I couldn't find a place for, but I think she looks kind of fun in here. She's so heavy. I got her when I was in Pennsylvania sourcing for my space, and she was supposed to go to the store, and somehow she has not made her way there yet because I really love her. And my mom put a little ornament in her hair around her bun, which I think looks really cute. This piece right here is a crewel tapestry piece that I got when I was in Pennsylvania, and it has so much texture, and I love the length of it, how it fills up this corner. And I also collect oversized pencils and, well, scissors, pencils, just weird stuff. I have just artwork that I don't have room for layered here, but I still find inspiring. This here is my desk where usually I have a computer set up, but today I took it out and I just have a lot of handmade items here that are classified probably as folk art. This penny ship is really cool. There are pennies, probably I think $5 worth of pennies I counted one time, grouted onto this wooden ship, and it's just a really fun, unique, one-of-a-kind item. I got this leather folk art frame from Florence, Italy last year, and it's just incredible. I think it's from the 1700s, and just to think of the time that it must have taken somebody to cut out the leather fabric and then also mold these little flowers is just really incredible. This here is, it's a shadow box of paper flowers. I really love anything handmade, again, for the same reason. I love that leather piece, and the penny is just, who would take time to do that? I think it's incredible that somebody had a vision to do it first of all, and then spent the time getting every piece just right to make it actually look like real flowers. And then more beaded flowers. This is a bottle cap chain, another piece of folk art. This Santa is an old little piece, but he's kind of goofy looking. And this is actually a mother of pearl shade that a friend gave to me. And then this is a micro mosaic mirror, Italian, and then some more festive touches, and another nude, because you got to have nude, and because I need to know where I am all the time. I put an office sign up there because I wouldn't know otherwise. So that is my office. And now we're in our bedroom, and this is the master bedroom, which is really laughable. It's not even big enough to hold a queen size bed. I guess we could, but we need a nightstand. So this is a full size bed, and everybody asks me, how do you and your husband sleep in a full size bed? And I guess because we've been doing it for almost 28 years, you just figure it out. It's a brass bed with mother of pearl inlay here. And then I found this really old tapestry on Facebook Marketplace from actually somebody who follows me on Instagram. I didn't know that she did, and when I went to pick it up, it came from her house that she was moving out of, so I'm so happy that I'm giving it another life. I think it looks dramatic for such a small space. These Italian Florentine lamps I found last year after I came back from Florence, and I was so inspired by Italy and all the decorative arts, and I found this pair, and it was one of those instances where I asked if they were available and the guy ghosted me. He said they were, and then he ghosted me. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna get those lamps. And then eventually he got back to me, and I was so happy because they are just so unusual. They have little swans around them, hand-painted gold. And then I put these anthropology shades, marbled shades, which I've had for years, but the marbling technique is just so Italian. They do lots of marbling on paper in Italy. It's actually where it all started, and so I think it actually is a nice combination. These bedside stands I picked up at an auction house. I actually had two other bedside stands, and I asked the man who ran the auction house if he just wanted to swap, which he did. So I got these, and I gave him my old ones, and they couldn't really be a more perfect size for this small room. Over here is an old inlaid dresser that I got at a thrift store, and the detail on it is just really lovely, even though it's a little bit dinged up. I love the different shades of wood in the inlay, and on top of it is another Louis Philippe mirror, and this one is huge, and this was another flea market find at the same flea market where I found that painting in my office, and the back was facing me when I was going down the aisle, and I saw the old wooden back, and I'm like, I think that's something, and I turned it around, and it was a very old Louis Philippe mirror, and it had its original tag from France, so I knew it was genuine, and it's over 30 pounds, and I couldn't take a cart in to retrieve it and take it home, so I was like lugging it inch by inch through the market. Here I have these, I think these are Italian toll pieces that are religious, and I have this peace sign that I got at a flea market. It's on old wood. They're old, it's old typography, old letters, and then some really gaudy garland, and a vintage chenille ornament. And then over here is my seascape wall, which I love. I lived on the Oregon coast during my summers and when I was in college, and they're just some of the happiest days of my life. And so at some point I had one seascape wall and one seascape painting, and now I have quite a few. And I love that every morning when I wake up, that's the first thing I see. And every night when I go to sleep, it's the last thing I see. And I have a couple of oddball pieces in there, which I think kind of adds some whimsy to it. I have this Winter's Tale, the Faulkner School Gymnasium, May 13th, 1916. So it's an old poster for a Shakespeare performance. It must be a high school performance. And I got a master's in English literature, so it kind of speaks to that part of my history. Then here is a mirror, which is actually a two-way mirror, and there's a TV behind it. My husband came home one day and said, I want a TV. I'm like, that sounds good, until I saw what size TV he was getting. It was this huge TV, and it was just a huge black box. It was before they had, pretty TVs that you could put frame TVs. And so I said, okay, we got to figure out something. So he cut out a hole in the wall, recessed the TV, and then we put in a two-way mirror. So when you turn it on, you can still watch TV. And then when it's off, you would never know that there's a TV there. So that's a fun little hack. Bye, Homeworthy. It was so lovely showing you around, but I think I need to go hang some more garland.
On today's Festive Homeworthy episode, we're in sunny Arizona for a holiday tour of content creator and designer Randy Garrett's beautifully decorated family home. Inspired by French design, her enchanting chinoiserie theme adds delicate, graceful charm to this Christmas season. From the grand staircase adorned with a whimsical garland to 4 stunning Christmas trees scattered throughout the house, Randy's holiday decor captures the delicate patterns and playful motifs of her French-inspired style.
I think this is my favorite tree. This feels like it stepped right out of a scene in the wallpaper.
From the dining room set for Christmas dinner to the guest casita, a touch of festive sparkle can be found around every corner.
Something that is a little unexpected, which I love to do all over the home, is these little crystal orbs in various sizes. The light just catches those and it just feels very magical during the daytime when the sun hits it, and then at night when the candles are on it. It's just really a fun element on the table.
In her show-stopping kitchen, Randy shares expert tips on how to transform a store-bought cake into a holiday masterpiece.
Whatever I'm serving, if it's fruit, salad, doesn't matter. You just put a little bit of this on top and it feels like holiday magic. Isn't that fun? Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Randy Garrett. Welcome to our home in Arizona. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Randy Garrett from Randy Garrett Design. I'm a content creator and designer. Welcome to our winter wonderland in sunny Arizona. We built this home 4 years ago, and we kept calling it, let's go see the house, let's go see the house. And we thought, let's come up with a name for our house. So it just kind of evolved, and we call our home the Wren. And the Wren is a type of a bird that is a little wren familiar to this area, and it creates like a little nest for its family, and we just felt like it was just a fitting name for our home. We want this to be a nest where all of our children and extended family and friends can come and feel taken care of when they're here. Our home is very traditional with a French twist. When we were building this home, we really wanted it to have big rooms for our family to gather and be able to be here comfortably all together. In Arizona, you have to have a pool, so we have a pool to stay cool in the summer. And we have lots of traditional elements, lots of millwork, lots of character that help this home feel current and timeless, and just a place where we can all gather and be together. So I would say my design style is traditional with a touch of French, And when I decorate for the holiday season, I like for that same style to kind of flow seamlessly into my everyday decor. So for holiday season, I rarely, if ever, decorate with traditional Christmas colors. Red kind of gives me anxiety, so I steer clear of red, and I love to bring in blues and golds and just soothing color palettes that really just make the holiday season feel calm and peaceful, and also just in keeping with my everyday decor. So this year, every year I pick a theme for my Christmas, and this year my theme or my inspiration is Chinoiserie. So every tree, we have 4 trees this year, have a different Chinoiserie inspired theme. So as we walk through the house, you'll see each tree has lots of florals and birds and fruit, things that you would see in a traditional Chinoiserie print. So welcome to our family room. This is where our family spends like 90% of our time. So I wanted this room to feel light and airy and comfortable and beautiful. So you'll notice, first of all, the French doors that we have wrapping the room that really just let the natural light flood in and take in the beautiful city views that we have. It's just a lovely sun-filled space. All of our furniture is white, but we have 5 children and 2 dogs, so it's all performance fabric. So basically indestructible. The kids can plop on it and do whatever, and it's just fine, worry-free. I like to have all the neutral furniture for lots of reasons. It makes it so easy to swap out pillows and decor through every season and give a totally different look without having to change all of your furniture. So that's our base. And then we have this massive fireplace that we have turned on, like usually a month of the year, we can enjoy it. But it's quite large with beautiful limestone around. Again, that just gives a nod to French design, which I absolutely love. We had this painting above the mantle commissioned by an incredible artist from the Ukraine, my friend Emmy from Emmy & Co. She has so many artists that she works with, and we have several of her paintings scattered throughout our home that we had commissioned through her. Also on our mantle, we have this unique selenite sculpture. I love the crystal effect. I feel like it just is kind of a little bit more contemporary that blends beautifully with the traditional and the French, keeping it a little bit kind of current. Something, again, I love to do for Christmas is make my garland a real statement. So again, I just started with a basic flocked garland and then added lots of layers with picks and florals, stems, just tucked up into the garland. This year I used these beautiful like flocked hydrangeas that have little crystals on them, beautiful glittery leaves, magnolias, pomegranates, little birds, lots of things that you would see in a chinoiserie scene. Like you can see the chinoiserie ginger jar. All of those things kind of pull from the scene and are on our garland. Because the garland is so full, there's not really a place to hang our stockings. So I have this little stocking holder, and we have our stockings hung by the fire on a stand instead of actually on the fire. And we've got the kids' monograms on each of the stockings, and we just hang them by the fireplace instead of on the fireplace. Throughout the room, I have smaller little accessories to kind of carry the theme and the vision that I have sort of every day, but make it feel a little bit more like Christmas. I don't like a lot of tchotchkes. I like just kind of clean lines and then just sprinkle some things around. So I have this beautiful Christmas star placed here on the ottoman, a little box that holds our remotes. Ginger jars are my thing. I absolutely love them. So I have just a little bow tied around it with a sacred heart and some candles. The throw pillows in this room are so comfortable, and it's actually a really special collection that I was able to curate at Kalini Coastal. So you can find my pillows curated over on their website. I love to do a big print, a kind of tighter print, and then like a statement print together. So we've got the floral, the block print, and then this fun kind of viney print. And then over on the table behind the sofa, just created this fun little vignette with a beautiful cashpo, filled it with some ornaments and some special little baubles, some ribbon, a candle that I picked up when we were in Italy from the Chinoiserie store. And then this is my favorite Christmas cottage. It kind of looks like our house. And so I pull it out every year, use it in lots of different ways, and then I'll always am collecting bottle brush trees to kind of sprinkle around. They just kind of make your Christmas decor feel very charming and magical and whimsical. I love adding tassels to lamps and drawers, making it feel just a little bit polished. So the focal point of the room is our 10-foot flocked Christmas tree that is absolutely loaded. I think it's so funny when people are like, you can't even see your tree. And I'm like, that's the point. I love to just drench it with Christmas. So this year, again, keeping with the theme, it's a beautiful Chinoiserie inspired Christmas tree. You can see, again, all the elements that we have on the mantle are on this tree, with the exception, we've got gorgeous ornaments. So I have white ornaments that I love to use every year, and I kind of just dress them differently. Like this year I have little bows tied on them, some silver and gold mercury glass ornaments sprinkled throughout. Those ones I use every year. And then I add special ornaments like the Chinoiserie ornaments, the ginger jar ornaments, just kind of to give the tree a fresh look every year. And then you'll see lots of picks layered in, lots of texture, and then little tiny birds nestled here and there. And then a little bit of ribbon just cascading down throughout the tree. So the year that my son got married, I wanted the tree to be perfect, and I decorated the entire tree because the reception was outside. That was the first time I've ever done that. I don't usually decorate the back of the tree. Well, I went out with some friends, came home, was washing my hands at the kitchen sink, and I looked over and my tree was gone. It had tipped over onto our sofa because it was so heavy. So every year from then on, my husband takes fishing wire and we attach it to the wall so that we do not have that tragedy again. Luckily, only 2 ornaments broke. It was the Christmas miracle. But the tree is one of my favorite trees. My mom and I had so much fun doing this together. And then I always sprinkle packages underneath, and there's never anything in those packages. So year after year, I use these little white and gold boxes, and they're always empty. I use them every year, and then usually the week before Christmas, I'll slide off the ribbon and tuck in the actual gifts because my kids are such stinkers. They sneak, they find out what their gifts are, and I was just over it. So I'm like, we're not putting the Christmas presents out until the week before Christmas. Something else I did this year that I really had fun with, instead of using wrapping paper, I used leftover wallpaper that you'll see throughout our home, and I used the scraps for wrapping paper. There's no gifts in here, so I can use them year after year. Just use some beautiful ribbon, and then I like to take ornaments and just tuck those in for a fun little touch, and then nestle those under the tree. So this wallpaper you'll see in our laundry room, this you'll see out in our guest room, and this one you'll see in Ellie, my daughter's bathroom. But lots of fun ribbon and different prints to just really kind of tie in the color scheme from the tree and all the pillows throughout the room. So I'm a mother of 5 beautiful children, and I had my degree in elementary education. I taught school until my first son was born, and I have always loved design. My grandmother and my mom really instilled that love of making your home beautiful, and so I always wanted to do that for my own home. I didn't get into an interior design program because this college that I went to didn't have a design program, so I went the route of education instead, which was so great as a mom to have that background. When my children started to grow and I started to have a little bit more free time, I started an Instagram account to just have a place to share inspiration and connect with other women who shared my same love for design. And it just grew into a career for me, and I have loved being able to connect with people from all over the world who share a love for creating beautiful things and creating a home and a place for your family and friends to gather and create wonderful memories. This has turned into a full-time career for me. I style for brands from all over, and it's just been a magical journey. Our family room leads into our kitchen, which makes it really fun to entertain so that you're not in a space that's disconnected from everybody else. And you'll see lots of French inspiration sprinkled throughout our kitchen. We've got the cremone bolts that you see all over France on our hardware in the kitchen. We have a French La Cornue range, and this was something that I really, really wanted. We had one in our old home, and the space was a lot bigger, and the price goes up dramatically, and so it was not going to be something that I could do. And a friend of mine suggested that you get 2 ranges and put them side by side, and that's what we did. So we have 2 ranges side by side to create one large range. I absolutely love this. I bake, and this is the very best oven to bake in. We had a company create this beautiful custom hood that matches the range. These 2 are my favorite element in the kitchen. Combined with the cremone bolts, just really make it feel like France. We have lots of little details throughout the kitchen. I love the thicker molding at the top. Instead of taking the cabinetry all the way up, intentionally stopped and then added a thicker molding to make it feel very substantial. Furniture-based feet just kind of add more personality and character. The glass front cabinets on a few of the cabinets. We had a really hard time trying to figure this out. So I wanted glass shelves, but I didn't want the green lip that you get when you have the glass. And so one of my tile guys actually suggested that we use schluter that goes in showers to hide the edges of the shower and put that on the edge of the glass. So we did that, and it actually creates this really fun design element in our glass cabinetry. Again, something that I love to do is have the busy details like in the moldings on the walls and on the cabinet, the jewelry. I wanted some of the other elements to be a little bit more clean. So we did a waterfall island and then had our fabricator make it look like a panel molding that you would see on like the wall. So it's got the same miter detail that you would see on like the trim work that you have on paneling on your wall. The lighting is a little bit more clean lined, just to kind of give your eye some rest instead of having it be busy, busy everywhere. Another feature that I love in our kitchen is our refrigerators. We had them custom panels made for the fridge freezer. So it looks like a piece of furniture. We have antique glass on them, and I'll take one of the mirrors or the wreaths off so you can see the pretty detail that's on there. And then I just use command hooks to put wreaths for whatever the holiday season that it is. There is not actual drawers right there. Those are just faux. It just opens to one panel on each side, which I think is a fun element. It was really fun to design. So my mom and I had a lot of fun in the kitchen. We wanted the kitchen to feel like it matched the family room, but kind of different from the family room, not as busy. So we kept the color scheme in here for Christmas, white and gold. And we started with this gold bay leaf garland. And to attach it to the hood, we used magnetic hooks that I just grabbed on Amazon, and then draped it over the hood, and then just tucked in a few little winter berries of white and kind of a silvery blue, just as a nice little focal point for the massive range that we have in here. Then I next kind of just sprinkled some Christmas arrangements throughout the room. Flanking the stove, I have some hydrangeas with these beautiful magnolias. Again, some berry picks that kind of tie into the range with the leaves. I love these little bamboo white and gold cash posts. I use those almost every season to switch them out for whatever holiday and season we have. I have some little Christmas vignettes here and there. I love to use my ginger jars throughout the year. This one is a really special one. It's a Ginori one that's hand painted from Italy. Matt actually surprised me with that last year for Christmas, my husband. And then I just kind of tied some bows and some sacred hearts on a few to kind of give it a little Christmas touch. One of my favorite things is to create little surprises in my cabinetry. So when you open these, you'll see we've got a little Santa picture up there. I like to use that for hot cocoa. A little Christmas cottage, and then I'll show you over on the other side in just a second. Over on this side, it's kind of the same thing. I have my Santa cookie jar at the top, and then a couple little Christmas trees and a wreath. So when you open it up, it just feels like Christmas magic. And my favorite thing in the Christmas kitchen is this canister filled with the Santa mugs that I've collected. Just fill those in there and use them for hot chocolate, apple cider. It's just so fun to look at when you're baking and cooking dinner. You've got cute little Santa staring at you. I wanted to also show that when you're baking for Christmas, use those things as decor. So one of the favorite things that we like to do as a family is to create or bake family recipes that have been in our family for really generations. One of our family's favorite are homemade Christmas caramels. My grandma Gifford actually, this was her recipe and we make it every year. It's my kid's favorite. So put it in a pretty dish and display it on your countertop instead of tucking it in a cabinet, and use that as decor for your space. Something else that you can do in your kitchen if you have the space is to have like a plate wall. I had my dad, who's super handy, make me these shelves for my birthday this year. He did an amazing job, and it's been so fun to switch out the plates for each season. Right now I have my white and gold Chinoiserie plates, and I just sprinkled a few little bottle brush trees that I collect, and finished it off with a little Christmas wreath. On the island, this is something I like to do every season as well. I pull out some of my favorite dishes and create a little vignette of like a place setting, but it's just here, collected here on the island. So I've just got my favorite dishes, some flatware, some of my favorite napkins and stemware, and then finished it off with these gorgeous little votives. They're one of my favorites. And then I kept the rest of it pretty simple, just like a little cluster of ginger jars with an arrangement that coordinates with the one over here on the range. And then I love to have candles. They just really set the tone, add some magic to the space. So I've got a couple of those just draped around the island. This is our butler's pantry, one of my favorite rooms in the house, just right off the kitchen. And this is where we keep all of our canned goods, like dry goods, are all in here, the kids' snacks. The statement of this room, the focal point, are these gorgeous bistro shelves that are attached to the marble backsplash. And I have most of my favorite ginger jars kind of sprinkled on these, and it is so fun to decorate for every season. For Christmas, I use lots of cedar picks and ginger jars, obviously, and then lots of little gingerbread houses and little gingerbread trees that light up, and we just kind of add to our collection every year. Over on this side, I have some of our pantry goods. My kids love suckers. This is something that they had ever since they were little. And then we just sprinkled some of the little gingerbread houses and more gingerbread trees over onto this side. Above the window, I added just a little cedar wreath with a ribbon and sprinkled some more ginger jars with these Chinoiserie Christmas trees from, again, my friend Tina at the Enchanted Home. One of my very favorite Christmas memories in this house, we've been here for 4 Christmases, was 2 Christmases ago when, oh my goodness, I'm gonna start crying, when my son Tate got married. So we were able to have his reception here at our home, and we turned our backyard into a magical wedding reception, and we had our family and friends came, and it was just an amazing experience that I'll remember and treasure forever. So Christmas morning at the Garrett house is pure joy. We have 5 children, and we're blessed if all 5 of them can be together at the same time, now that some are married. But every year, the kids line up at the top of the stairs in age order and come running down. We come in, Matt and I come in early, and we turn on all the lights so that it looks magical, and we have Christmas music playing. And the kids come in, and we take turns passing the gifts out. And then my family hates this tradition, but it's my favorite. We take turns opening packages. So we start with the youngest, and they open their gift, and then it goes to the next one, and we all take turns so that you can see what the gifts are that people are receiving, and the ones that you've given to somebody, you can really treasure that memory of them opening it. And it really just makes the morning longer. Instead of this mass chaos, it's just, I treasure that time with my family and with our kids. After the morning and we are done opening our presents, we have a tradition of having homemade waffles with strawberries and fresh whipped cream. And then we just enjoy the morning together, playing with the gifts and being together. There's always a ball game on, and just a lot of fun and laughter. This is our breakfast room where we have our more casual dinners as a family, which is open to our dining room. Because we have a large family, I wanted to be able to have family dinners and still feel connected. So I designed the space to flow into the dining room so that you could still all be together. This space, again, is wrapped in French doors, letting the light flood in and really lets us enjoy the Arizona sunlight. I love a bright and cheery room, and this is just gorgeous in the morning when the sun floods in. I had a lot of fun this year on the windows with the garland. I used some lunaria garland as my base, and then I zip tied some of the gold bay leaf garlands that I have in the kitchen and just wove them together and attached them to the curtain rods with some Velcro straps and just kind of draped them on the windows. It just is a fun little Christmas touch. Wasn't a ton of work. And then I used some hooks, command hooks, to attach these lovely wreaths that one of my friends designed for me, and it has a silk monogrammed bow on them. A little special touch. One of my favorite things to do, no matter what the season, is to set a tablescape. There's just something about setting a tablescape that lets you be very artistic. So my inspiration usually comes with either the plate or the centerpiece. There's usually an element that I start with. For this tablescape, I just wanted it a little bit more casual, and so my little springing off point was my Wedgwood china that I just love. It's so timeless, you can use it year round. And then I just layered in some velvet ruffled placemats, and then the texture of these beautiful capiz chargers layered with the Wedgwood is just gorgeous. And then I used some little velvet napkins that have a little ruffle on them, a velvet bow. I slid another napkin ring holder in because I was lazy and didn't want to tie them all on and thought it would be easier for guests to just kind of take them off. And then for the centerpiece, I used these very realistic faux hydrangeas. They feel real, they look real, they're amazing. You get them on Amazon. Tucked in some of the same bay leaves that we used in the kitchen, and then used one of my favorite blue and white ginger jars as the vessel. For an unexpected touch, I always love to have little votives and candles lit to kind of just add some magic. But the unexpected touch is to have a little table lamp on the table for some more ambient lighting. And then just to dress it up, I added a little shade that has a little bit more character. And then I had my dad wire some little mini wreaths and some ribbon that just kind of finish off the whole look. So this is our formal dining room, and we have more of our seasonal dinners in here, or more special dinners. And something that I absolutely love about this space is the Gracie Studio wallpaper that we have on the walls. They customized this wallpaper just for us. We tweaked the colors. We added little wrens for the wren. And then you can see this little nest up here on the wall. It has 5 eggs, one for each of my children. So there's little touches hidden throughout the room that they made special for us. I absolutely love it. It feels so special. A couple of the pieces in here that I love, this long banquette holds so much of my flatware, stemware, and then all of my napkins. Quite the collection. I love this starburst mirror. You'll see starburst mirrors throughout the house. Also, these gorgeous cascading chandeliers are just magnificent staple pieces in here. I had these chairs covered in a performance velvet. So they look very formal, but they are very, very friendly for spills and children and adults who just tend to be a little sloppy, like me. I mentioned that I love setting tablescapes, so I have a lot of fun setting my Christmas tablescape every year. This is where we gather and have our Christmas dinner and also New Year's Eve dinner usually. This table was just really special to set because this year we went to Italy, and I was able to see the actual flagship store where these dishes came from. They're Chinoiserie, hand painted from Italy. So seeing the place where they originate was really special and brings back memories every time I use them now. So I started with this gorgeous kind of white and gold charger and then layered on the Chinoiserie plates. Also used this beautiful flatware that feels very opulent, and the stemware that is also just gorgeous. It reminds me of Versailles. Down the center of the table, I have these candlesticks that are like a glass cut, hand painted. They come out with a new version every year, and so these are kind of special. I have a couple of different versions that I've added to over the years. Sprinkled in some of those same bay leaves that you saw in the kitchen, kind of connecting the two rooms together, and then some of the velvet magnolias with a few of the little beaded picks that you saw on my range hood. And then something that is a little unexpected, which I love to do all over the home, is these little crystal orbs in various sizes. The light just catches those and it just feels very magical during the daytime when the sun hits it, and then at night when the candles are on it. It's just really a fun element on the table. I grew up in a home that had so many traditions for each season, and something that we always did as little kids is had poppers for Christmas and New Year's, and you just pop these open and there's a little paper crown and a little treat. So we have continued this in our home, and on Christmas Eve everybody gets a little cracker, you pop it open and you wear the paper crown at Christmas dinner, and it's just one of my very favorite traditions that is so simple to do. You can find little cute ones at the store, or you can make your own, but it's just a simple fun tradition that I look forward to every year. I designed this space to have this patio connected to it that you could open up these doors and have like hors d'oeuvres, drinks on the patio, and it's got the same checkerboard flooring that we have inside, different material, but the same look and feel from our entryway in the pantry. And the sun sets over on this side, so it's really just a magical spot that you can have as outdoor entertaining connected to the dining space. Hidden behind this little door is a closet that has, it's what I call my entertaining closet. It's got chargers and dishes, candles, linens, and just everything you would need to entertain tucked away in this little closet. So it's just easily accessible to the space. This was actually going to be just dead space of the house, and my architect showed me the design plans, and I said, can we pop out this and use it as a little cabinet? And he said, absolutely. So it's just kind of a fun little afterthought, but I love having it in our home. The china cabinet that we have in here, I really love that it looks like it's an old antique piece, but it's not. It holds a lot of my favorite dishes and serving pieces, and has some extra space in the bottom for linens. And then I love to decorate it for Christmas with just simple wreaths. I used, again, those bay leaves with wreaths with this silk monogrammed bow to add a little special touch. I designed this space to have these bifold French doors so that if you wanted to have a more intimate dining setting in the breakfast room, you could close these and it would feel a little bit more special and cozy. And then we just leave these open most of the time so that you can have an opening from this room to this room, and everybody can converse and be together if you want to have one big happy family gathering. Welcome to our Christmas entryway. When we designed this home, I really wanted it to be a grand space, and I really had Christmas in mind when I designed this area. So in our previous home, we didn't have a stairwell that you could see, and so I never could hang garland up, and I wanted to make sure that this home had a place where we could have beautiful garland showing for the Christmas season, and I wanted to really embrace the beautiful outdoor weather that we have here in Arizona. So when you walk through our front door, you are immediately seeing outside to our backyard and beyond, and it just feels like a warm Arizona hug. So the star in this space, in my opinion, is the garland, and I have so much fun creating something new every year with this. So I start with a base garland. You'll see it here, buried underneath all of the goodness. It's just a flocked garland that is not very expensive. I use 9 of them going up my entire staircase. And then I layer on different garlands and picks and florals every year to give it a new spin to kind of go with our theme for the year. So this year I used this beautiful magnolia garland that has like glitter kind of painted on, and it's just magical. So I wove those together and then layered on lots of picks. So you'll see like this eucalyptus pick here that's brushed with gold. And then I used all of the picks that I used for my fall decor. I repurposed them for Christmas. So I've got this magnolia just tucked up in, these beautiful blue vine florals that are very unexpected for Christmas, but they work with my chinoiserie theme. And then some berries, and then some eucalyptus picks. And then my favorite element are these curly willows that I just kind of tucked in here and there, giving it some sense of drama. So after we finished the garland on the stairs, we turned our sights to the Christmas tree. And I really wanted the two of them to connect and feel like they belonged together and kind of told the story. Once our tree was in the base, we started adding all of the same picks that we have in our garland, some of the eucalyptus, berries, those blue florals that are so fun. They're more of like a vine. And then I just sprinkled a few of my favorite chinoiserie ornaments. So you'll see these, I've collected these for several years from my friend Tina at the Enchanted Home. Her ornaments are always so lovely. And then I have a few from Kalini Coastal. You'll see kind of nestled in here, these blue kind of translucent ornaments, but there's not a ton of ornaments, more picks and florals on this tree to kind of tie in the look of the garland. So over on this table over here, I really wanted it to kind of just be a splash of Christmas, and because they're so heavy on the garland and the tree. So we just used that same magnolia garland on here and then just tucked in a few of these little berries and finished it off with those little fairy lights. I love candlesticks, and these ones are just gorgeous. They're crystal, have a little bit of gold on them. And then I just used some battery operated candles that flicker so that they can be on all the time and you don't have to worry about the flame. And then I love ginger jars, so we sprinkled a few to complete the look. And the lamps on this table, I think, are my favorite in the entire house. They have chinoiserie scenes on them, which again ties into the theme that we have going on in the house. You'll notice this whole room is wrapped in beautiful millwork. That was another detail that I really wanted to incorporate into this home. It makes it feel very traditional, also very French, like when you visit chateaus and homes in France that are hundreds of years old, you'll notice beautiful millwork, and so I wanted that to be an element in this home. One more element I wanted to mention about this space are the checkered floors, the gray and the white marble. So my husband and I visited France several years ago and visited the Palace of Versailles, and their servants' quarters actually spoke to me more than the palace itself. It's a little bit more understated. They had these beautiful gray and white checkered floors, and that stuck with me, and I remembered that I wanted to incorporate that into this home when we designed it. And I absolutely love just the pattern and the color. It's very soft, and we pulled that into our Butler's pantry that I'll show you later, but it just is a little nod to my love for France. This is our sitting room leading to our primary suite, and this is a really cozy space that we like to sit and read books or just visit as a family. The walls are draped in this metallic grass cloth wallpaper. The furniture in here is this beautiful sort of bluish gray velvet. It's so cozy to sit in. And then it ties in beautifully with our Chinoiserie-inspired Christmas tree. Again, we've got lots of floral picks and botanicals and chinoiserie ornaments to carry that chinoiserie theme from room to room, but each feels a little different and has its own little personality. This room feels a little bit more personal, so we have on the either side of the fireplace, I have some of my favorite family photos of my family, and the fireplace just really cozies up the space as well. This is a limestone fireplace, and we have it draped with this gorgeous garland that my mom and I had a lot of fun putting together. We again started with just a basic flocked garland and then put in all the picks and florals that we used on the tree, and then just finished it off with a little bit of ribbon down the side. Welcome to our primary suite. This is really a retreat for my husband and I. This room has a gorgeous view of the golf course that we're on, and then city views of Phoenix. One of my favorite things is pulling the drapes shut at night and overlooking the magic lights of the city. We have, again, beautiful French doors with transom windows, letting all of the natural light of the Arizona sunshine coming flooding in. Our furniture in here feels kind of transitional with a touch of French. The bed has an upholstered headboard with a touch of more modern feel with the lucite posts. And for Christmas, I really like to incorporate luxurious bedding without doing sheets that scream Christmas, like stockings and candy canes on flannel sheets. I like to instead incorporate velvets and texture to the space to make it feel magical for Christmas. So we've got a velvet tufted quilt here on the bed, and then at the end of the bed, this is like my signature move. I love to kind of scrunch the quilt on top. It's too warm here to use duvets, so to get that like lofty, cozy look, scrunching a quilt at the end of the bed creates that look without making it be too warm. I love a lot of pillows, so I've layered some beautiful floral pillows here with a gorgeous lumbar pillow. And to make it feel like Christmas, I've draped a little bit of magic by just adding a little wreath to the lamp. Our fireplace is this beautiful marble. I love the details. You can see just every little rivet feels so like frosting. For Christmas, I decorated it with this lunaria garland. If you remember in the breakfast room, I had the same garland mixed with the gold. And here I just kept it by itself. It feels very airy and whimsical. I attached it with just a little command hook on the mantle and then just added a little bow for a little touch above the fireplace. If you remember in our family room, we had that beautiful cloud painting. This is by the same artist. And I grew up by the ocean, love the ocean. When I saw this, I knew that I wanted it in our bedroom. So it's just the colors, everything about it is so peaceful and calming. I love to fall asleep looking at it and wake up looking at it in the morning. This whole little area feels very cozy to sit in here and read a book. I love this table. Is one of my favorite pieces in our whole house. It's got this alabaster marbly top and pretty little details at the bottom. And then if you can see underneath, it has a little crystal orb, which again is like a little nod to what we have in the dining room. Sprinkling a little Christmas here and there. Have a little star, same one in our family room. This is by a fun artist. They come out with a couple of different things every year, and I think it's just a really special touch. Welcome to my office. This room is wrapped in this gorgeous chinoiserie wallpaper. It's my favorite wallpaper in our house. And I really pulled the colors from the wallpaper into our Christmas decor, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But the piece in here that really is a focal point layered on top of the chinoiserie wallpaper is this stunning French armoire. My husband and I found this on Craigslist back in the day when that was the place to shop for little treasures, and we had it custom painted, and inside holds ribbon and wrapping paper, all kinds of things that you use to gift wrap. Then I have this little bit more clean lined desk that I love to sit at to edit my photos. I spend a lot of time in here creating and editing the content that I create, so the space just really feels magical, a lovely place to be. The chair in here is also very French. I love the little gold details on it. And over here I have another piece of furniture that I just love. It's got this beautiful reeded front doors. It feels traditional but contemporary at the same time. A large mirror on top with the little brushed gold details ties into the chair. Something that I've collected for several years are these little Christmas cottages. I kind of swap out and add new ones every year. These are some of my favorite that really just coordinate with the colors that we use this year. To finish it off, I draped a few little Christmas strands, and then I've collected these glass trees, also different sizes and colors that really just feel fun and playful for Christmas. I think this is my favorite tree. I love how it ties directly in with the colors in the wallpaper. It just feels like it stepped right out of a scene in the wallpaper. This tree only took me 40 minutes to decorate. I did a time-lapse video, so I know it took 40 minutes, and it's my favorite tree. So we started with just a very basic pine tree. It's the only pine, not flocked tree I have in our house. And she sits in this gorgeous French tree stand that is actually a tree stand, so it makes it even more dramatic and a little bit taller. And then she's dressed in lots of this cedar glittery magic, and then I just added some gold picks, some eucalyptus, these beautiful felt dogwoods, and then for an unexpected touch, these peonies just kind of make the tree pop. And then there's some little ornaments here and there. I've got these chinoiserie scene ornaments, and then this beautiful gemmed ribbon. So we're back in the kitchen. I'm going to show you how I dress up a bakery cake that's store-bought. It makes it feel a little bit more holiday ready. So you don't have to cook everything for the holidays. I'm just grabbing one of my cake plates out of these cabinets that I have all of my serving platters and cake stands and mixing bowls stored in here. This was a really fun element to design for our house. It essentially serves as a china cabinet here in the kitchen. Love all the shelves. I have some rollouts, so it's easy to access all of the things. One of our family's favorite traditions is to serve a coconut cake for Christmas. And we serve so many things from scratch that we found that you can purchase the cake that we always make, Ina Garten's coconut cake. You can purchase it online. So a few years ago, we started buying the cake for our Christmas tradition. It's been amazing because it saves so much time and you can still enjoy the thing that you love the most. So I thought it'd be fun to just show you how I dress up a simple cake that you can buy at the grocery store and make it feel a little extra special for the holiday season. So I love to use white roses. Just make sure that you trim it and then wash the stem off really good. If you're worried about it, you can wrap it in foil. I'm not worried about it. So I just stick it right in the center, and you can leave it just like that. It looks really fun. You can take it to the next step and use some fresh herbs. Again, just make sure you wash them and kind of just tuck them into the cake, creating fun little details. I love to use this when I am hosting, and we'll put these in like the dips, or if I'm doing a charcuterie board, just kind of nestled around. It just really elevates your entertaining. It makes it look like you put a lot of thought and effort into hosting. It makes people feel extra special. I used to have these rosemary bushes in my yard, and it was so nice to just be able to go out and clip them. And then I've got some sage here too. It looks like little arms right now, but it's not going to. You're gonna just take some sage, do the same thing, kind of just nestle it in. See how fun that's looking? Really dressing up your cake, making it feel custom. And then serve this on your favorite dishes in your pajamas on Christmas Day. I've also put little jingle bells in there before. Oh, one more touch. Okay, so it's edible glitter, and I just sprinkle a little bit, whatever I'm serving. If it's fruit, salad, doesn't matter. You just put a little bit of this on top, and it feels like holiday magic. Isn't that fun? In a little jar. The thing I love the most about decorating for the holidays, it is so much work, but I love creating a magical scene for my family and friends to come and just experience all the joys and the wonders of Christmas and being together. And I feel like just making the home feel extra special with the decor that I put out just really does set the scene and the tone for memories to be made. To me, home is less about the home itself, and it's more about the people who fill the walls of the home and the love that we create together. And especially during the holiday season, the traditions that we have and continue to create really are what create a home for me.
Today we're celebrating Christmas in a tucked-away cottage in Long Valley, New Jersey, with interior designer Olivia Berlinski. Surrounded by woods, her home is layered with antiques, meaningful keepsakes, and her signature way of bringing nature indoors, creating the perfect backdrop for a whimsical Christmas.
This year I chose to do a real, this is again blending some real with a little bit of faux. This is a real Christmas tree, and then I just blended it with some faux pieces here, some faux berries. This is all things that I foraged from outside, all of the surround.
Olivia keeps the magic alive by reviving old-fashioned traditions that turn her home into a nostalgic holiday wonderland.
My kids, although grown, still love the idea and believe in Christmas. So I put all of the presents out the night before everybody gets here on Christmas Eve, and they still will go upstairs and go to bed, and then the next morning the Christmas presents are underneath the tree. And I think that it's so wonderful that they still kind of keep that small bit of magic, that Christmas magic, and believing that Santa really did come to visit. There were no Christmas presents the night before, and the next morning there were.
To watch Olivia's home tour ad-free, scan the QR code on screen or visit homeworthyplus.com for access to all of our latest episodes ad-free and to receive other exclusive membership perks. This Christmas, Homeworthy invites you into a season of wonder. Over the next 25 days, we're stepping into homes that sparkle with holiday cheer, where garlands tumble from mantels, ornaments hang like tiny treasures, and every corner comes alive with joy, merriment, and the spirit of the season.
And I don't know how many ornaments are on the tree. Last year I got 1,400 on, and they were made all over the world. There were ones made in America, Poland, Italy, Japan, just a wide variety, and I love them all.
We'll visit homes where traditions are cherished, where beauty is made by hand, and where rituals become memories that last a lifetime.
We make about 400 of these rolls every year, and on Christmas Eve, our family delivers them to certain families within the area, and our kids get to participate in choosing who gets them.
From quiet moments by the fire to happy gatherings around the table, we're celebrating the way the holidays transform our spaces and fill them with magic.
We do quite a dressy table because it's Christmas and it's a party and you want it to feel special, but you also, it's nice to make the table a little bit kind of imperfect, a little bit higgledy-piggledy. I want people to feel at a party in my home as if they're kind of wearing a ball gown but going barefoot. You know, it's that kind of high-low moment, the kind of specialness, but also the coziness of being really comfortable.
So pour something warm, settle in, and join us for Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas, a season-long celebration of holiday magic. To watch Homeworthy's entire Christmas collection ad-free, visit homeworthyplus.com or scan the QR code on screen. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Olivia. Welcome to my home in Long Valley, New Jersey. Come on in. Olivia Berlinski. I'm an interior designer and antique vintage reseller. We're in historic Long Valley, New Jersey. Welcome to Tucked Away Cottage. We found this place about 3 years ago during the height of the pandemic. We were looking for homes. We actually lived in California for several years for my husband's position. He is a professional chef, and during COVID, like most things, that hospitality kind of, took the brunt of everything. So we decided to come back home. We're originally from upstate New York, and we set our sights on New York, New Jersey, PA. Our realtor found this house, and I remember coming down this long gravel drive that this house sits behind and kind of getting a little scared, where are we? And we found this spot, and this place we've dubbed Tucked Away because it truly is. It's tucked away into the woods. It sits on the Columbia Trail of New Jersey. We've got Clydesdales that come by, and it's really, quite magical. My dad also passed away, a couple years before buying this house, and I had asked my dad to please give me a sign. My dad is an avid hunter. He loved deer hunting season. We found this house on February 17th, which is my dad's birthday, and a deer was in the front lawn. I knew that was my dad, without a question. So without having all of the accoutrements that I wanted in this house, I had a really strong sense that this is where I needed to be at the present moment, at least in my life, I think in my husband's too. And so we named it Tucked Away because it was just what we needed. We needed a feeling of a hug of security. And I feel like this is that space that allowed for that. So now we're walking into the den. This space actually wasn't even here before. It stopped here. So the house is truly a cottage by all sense of the word. So this was all built out. when we got here, my husband was like, okay, we need a place for books. And so he is an avid reader. My husband, having no building sense whatsoever, he has never built anything. Like buying even furniture that needs like 2 legs to go on it was a problem. And he sat here one day and said, I'm gonna build a bookcase. And I'm like, okay, sure. 6 months later, this arrived. And so I am thrilled at the fact that not only did he stick to his word of doing what he said he was going to do, he actually did it. And it like came out, it's stunning. This is his spot. He always tells me like, this is my little spot. He's like, you could have the house, but this is mine. I still managed to get one last little corner over there. He did give me this one little space right here, which is this beautiful frame. So we found this beautiful gilded frame. And so that way I got him to use it. It was like, well, what about if your books were like framed in this beautiful frame? And he totally went for it. So I think it really came out beautiful the way that he hung it here on the bookshelf. And then this will soon be filled with books. It's just that it's wintertime in New Jersey and our greenhouse is not yet up. So we moved all the plants inside so that they would have a spot to live for the winter season. This is the family tree. This tree houses everything from tiny little mementos of handwritten notes to ornaments that we purchase every year. Our family loves to go out every year and purchase an ornament. We actually have to still do that for this year. Little decorations that the kids make in school and they're all now in their 20s. So it's fun when they come home and they're like, oh my God, you still have that thing. To, magnets of, my oldest daughter and her lab, Kai, our little lady, Charlie. And I've even got notes from my dad, which is probably the most sentimental part of this Christmas tree for me, because he's no longer with us. So when I pull these out, it's like he's right here. So these are from him. There's probably a couple more, but these 2 I know for sure are his. And they just make me feel so warm and special knowing that I kept those, because most people get, cards and most of the time we toss them, but I'd say put them on your tree. It's just such a fun way to remember holidays, of past. I also love foraging in the woods for a number of things, including pine cones. So I go out into the woods and I forage these beautiful pine cones. They have the most beautiful white tips already on them. I tend to try to find those. I just think that they're so pretty. And then whatever I can't, doesn't have that, I'll sometimes spray paint or I'll paint on them and, make beautiful little pieces of art out of them. But I think that, again, adding nature to your tree is just so perfect. The kids love, when we travel, we always will pick up an ornament. So we've got ornaments on here from, Jamaica, from Bahamas, from Hawaii. This one's from Hawaii. Friends will bring something back. I either ask a friend to bring back a rock or an ornament or a magnet for me whenever they travel. So they'll do that for me, and it adds to that. I think this one might be from Maine. So yeah, this is just like a fun tree of memories. This is my own little like memory bank, my own little time capsule. I just love these. Like, it's for me, like, this is the tree that's Christmas, right? Like, this is, we love decorating beautiful trees, but when you have a tree that really like talks about home and memories and places that you've been, like, there's nothing better than that for me. Again, more family mementos of, I just love surrounding myself with family. We have a beautiful family wall that we're getting ready to build out, and I'm like so super excited. I had a whole family gallery. This is what life is, right? It's like these precious people that, and take up your space in such good ways. And so that's a little memento to them. Another thing that I love collecting is birdhouses, and there's a number of them that I have. I think most of them now have been brought back in, but this is one of my absolute favorites. I just love the way the shape of this is over or underneath the angel. I used to intern at Vulgary, so I managed to snag a Vulgary ribbon from one of the packagings there, and I just tied up this beautiful angel here on this beautiful cedar garland and kind of made this Christmas moment here. My dad, when he was little, crying, I know it's a torn up picture, but I just think it's like one of the best pictures of him. And he's just always around. So I try to keep his spirit alive as much as I possibly can. And then just with that, the reminder of time. I love old clocks, to whom the bell tolls, you know, kind of a thing. And that's my little nod to remembering that time is so finite and just embracing this beautiful thing that is called life and sharing it with people that you love and giving that love to people who you don't even know, because it's so much easier and softer and kinder to be nice than it is to be mean. That's my perspective or philosophy, I would say. The structure of this room, like I said, wasn't here before. This was an addition added on. I think for both myself and my husband, when we came into the house, though the house was missing a lot of the history that I think more so than he did, would have wanted to have, this moment here is really kind of like what did it for us. Not only were we kind of tucked away, like I said, in this back, you know, alcove of the world, surrounded by trees and a beautiful trail, but then we also have this beautiful pond, and you know, you can see the Raritan River behind it, and it's just so beautiful. And just to have all of this open, you know, window with all of this beautiful light coming in, it's absolutely stunning. And in summertime, especially when everything is in bloom, you just become encapsulated not only in fragrances, but also just the foliage of this space here. It's truly, I think, one of Long Valley's absolute best kept secrets back here. I want to talk about this desk because it is absolutely one of my favorite pieces. I think both myself and my husband's favorite pieces. We were in Carmel, and it's funny because we were driving down the street heading back to our hotel, and there are these beautiful antique stores that line Carmel, and I just happened to glance at the absolute right time in the window of this shop and saw this table and told my husband immediately to pull over, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And so I run into this shop where I meet this very lovely woman, and I tell her, I need this desk. Like, I need this desk. It folds up also on the bottom. Like, it's so beautiful and so old. It's got all this old latching on it, and it's a mix of metal and wood. And I love the holes and the scratches and just all of the history that whomever this passed through has had on this desk or table or workbench or whatever they, you know, or work table. I just love the patina. Again, I don't tend to do much when it comes to wood. I just use some beautiful beeswax and get a nice protective coat and walk away. But it's absolutely one of my favorite pieces in the room. This pillow too. Like, I just found this pillow recently at a local vintage market that they were doing here in Jersey. And again, while it has color, it's very muted. And I think, again, muted colors and me are just, we're peas in a pod. The style of this home is very layered, and I think I'm a little bit of Art Nouveau. I'm a little bit of, you know, country rustic, and I just love blending styles. This is an Italian piece that probably most people wouldn't think to put with what I have going on here, but I thought it was perfect when I found it. And I'm not really into like a high shine lacquer, but there's just something about this piece that is just so stunning. I love the ornamentation on it, and I just love all of, you know, the gold glint on here as well. The fact that it came with its key is so perfect. This is La Permanente Mobili Cantu, and I apologize to anyone who speaks proper Italian. But this piece is just, again, one of those pieces that, you know, you can completely find if you love thrifting and sourcing and just allowing yourself that space and time to wait for the perfect pieces. I think I got this piece for like $100 from a thrift store, and it's in amazing condition. And I probably would never be able to go into a store and buy this, you know, right outright. So sourcing it was the absolute perfect thing. Again, the same thing with like Staffy dogs. I love collecting a Staffordshire. I'm always on the lookout for them when I'm out sourcing for pieces. And this is the perfect dog because he doesn't scratch the walls and he doesn't bark and he doesn't eat any food. So perfect little piece there. When we first moved into the house, we totally forgot how small, because it is an older home, how small the ceilings were. So I had gone on Facebook Marketplace because I knew that we were coming into a space that didn't have a lot of closets. And so I was looking for something that could house, you know, coats when you came in and, you know, blankets and etc. And so I found this monster of a piece on Facebook Marketplace and did not say a word to my husband. I waited until the folks were there to help with moving. And I was like, oh, by the way, we have to stop to pick up this piece. And so we pick up this piece and again, he's like, what are you doing? And I said, don't worry, it's gonna work. We get here, it doesn't even open. So thank God this space that we're standing in has got the height in terms of the height of the ceilings. I think the rest of our house is, you know, ceilings are probably about 7 feet at most. It's a very old house. And so back here, it really gives you the room to add that, you know, give that eye the lift. And so this piece, where I thought was going to be for coats and all that good stuff, has now become the treasure house for, you know, board games and our printer and all that kind of extra stuff that would normally just be, you know, out. It's kind of housed behind here, but it's one of my absolute favorite pieces too. I know there's a lot of favorite pieces, but this one is one of those absolute favorite pieces. This is a favorite little spot. We put the record player on in here as often as we can and just sit back in here, and we tend to have cocktails. You know, my husband might be doing budgeting and I'm sitting over here, you know, watching him doing budgeting or reading a book. But it's just a fun spot to get away from the room that's where the TV is and just kind of have a moment without any of that noise. So speaking of the living room, our TV room, well, I'm going to take you into the main space of the house, which is the living room. When we first found this house, it was completely flipped. Everything was, you know, kind of builder grade. There was no warmth in the house, if that makes sense. And there was quite a bit of things that needed to be done, which is probably why there's not a lot of stuff done on like the interior, because a lot of the things that you don't see are the things that we had to do pretty much under the house. Like we had to do a French drain here in this house. We ran a complete French drain downstairs in our basement. Actually, the day that we closed, we were swimming in water the day that we got here. We had a huge rainstorm. It was in April, and this house was almost like, we could see that it was clearly in water. So we took on the task of, you know, French draining everything, grading out our lawn. So a lot of the stuff that we thought we were going to be able to hit inside, we had to postpone and do more of what this house really needed in order to be a home. So some of the things now we're finally getting able to touch, like, you know, I'll show you later on the built-in bookcases and, you know, the beadboard, and just really trying to bring back some of that historic charm that was in this house. We've seen pictures of the house previously, and it's kind of gone through a couple of iterations, and this room that we're sitting in now actually wasn't even here. So this is a whole extension to the house that was added on. And we're so grateful because this is probably also the sunniest place in the house. The house, because it sits in the valley and we're surrounded by trees outside, does not get a lot of light on that side of the house. But this is where happiness and joy live. And if you want it in the morning, this is the sunshine spot. And then the sun also sets over on, I think, this side as well. So it's really beautiful to look out on the water. So we're in the main part of the house. This is the living room. The challenge in this space was not only the light, because there is very little light, even though there are these 2 windows. We have the overhang porch, so it takes away from the light, and then most of the sun is in the back space. So I wanted to make sure, I love coziness anyway, so it really didn't bother me too much as long as I knew I had a space that, you know, I could go to. My husband tends to bring up the lights all the way. I call them interrogation lights. Put a lot of lights around the room. So when I am enjoying this space, it is cozy, and again, it does lean into that warm hug feeling that, you know, I really wanted to evoke here. Because we are avid movie watchers, we love coming in and, you know, binging something or watching something. I did get an overstuffed sofa for this space. I wanted you to come in to flop into the sofa. It's one of those sofas where even as a grown-up, your feet will dangle, which is exactly what I was going for. And it completely throws a lot of people off because you have no choice but to be a kid when you're in this space. Like, your feet are dangling off the floor. It's like, how serious are you? So I love the fact that you can kind of cozy up in this area. And then again, leaning to different styles. I love the Victorian period, and so I found these beautiful pieces that I've placed here, and again, making it a memory or a mood, I should say, with what's going on with these scenes, and kind of bringing out some of those colors from the artwork into the room. So I had found these two pieces of art with my daughter on a trip to Rhode Island, and we were at an estate sale, and there was a whole pile of stuff. And this woman says to me, as I'm pulling these pieces of art out, she's like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, like, they're gone." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "I need these pieces." And so I said, "I'm going to leave you my info. And, you know, if the person doesn't come back for them, just please, you know, just call me." And she's like, "You know, like, who doesn't come back for something that they've, you know, already," she's like, "Honey, they're paid for it." I'm like, "You never know. You never know." And so sure enough, maybe 3 weeks pass, and the woman calls me and she says, "The woman never came back." I got in my car from New Jersey and drove back to Rhode Island just to pick up these two pieces. That is how much I love them. And I think that they're so perfect for, again, the color palette of the space, the mood that, you know, I was trying to evoke here in the space with, you know, this beautiful kind of old world. And what we're trying to do with this home is like bringing it back to the history that it was. So those are two absolute favorite pieces. Another one of my favorite pieces, and I forgot to mention this in the den, we have two of them, and I actually managed to get these from the same place I got our desk. They were brought back from France. They are the most beautiful urns. I love, again, this muted color of them. I think that they are so perfect. And again, another favorite piece that, you know, I got just thrifting and waiting. I think if we wait for our pieces, they will come to us. And this was definitely two of those pieces that I think are perfect. So I like the way that it kind of mirrors from here and then, you know, replays itself back into the den with that piece. This Christmas tree is a lot different from the one that's in the back. And the one in the back, again, is all family. This particular Christmas tree is just a nod to, again, nature, things that, you know, bring joy, especially with foraging. We have such a love in this family for music. So I managed to find these beautiful ribbon and just draped the top of the tree. And everything on here is pretty much wood, from like the wood little doves and hydrangeas that are from our garden outside, and just snipping them and then adding them into the tree. Again, not foraged these, but this kind of foraged look of this natural garland, and then just a couple of my own little pieces of garland. Like I said, I take these and I add them to, you know, just to twine. It kind of gives me, like, I don't know, maybe Little Women, Little Women vibes, and just having it really, really natural. And the lighting on here is just all white lights. So again, very soft colors for the tree, and I just love it. So I think most years we tend to go into the den to have Christmas, but I think this year we're just going to hang out on the sofa and we'll unwrap presents here. My kids, although grown, still love the idea and believe in Christmas. So I put all of the presents out the night before everybody gets here on Christmas Eve, and they still will go upstairs and go to bed, and then the next morning the Christmas presents are underneath the tree. And I think that it's so wonderful that they still kind of keep that small bit of magic, that Christmas magic, and believing that Santa really did come to visit. There were no Christmas presents the night before, and the next morning there were. This cabinet, so I told you earlier we couldn't do the large one because you can see, like, I'm 5'3", and these ceilings are really low. So I managed to snag this. I love this wood cabinet. And again, the patina on it is so perfect. I love, again, natural tones. And I just dressed it up with these faux wreaths with, you know, this beautiful like these olive branches on them. And then I found some of these glass ornaments and hung on here. So they're really quite pretty. And then above, this has gone through so many different changes. I think this is the landing spot for up here. I found these beautiful figures here, and these beautiful ceramic sheet that I have up at the top, a painted candle, and I just love it. I love art. You'll see that art plays a huge part here in the house. An oil painting, a signed oil painting of this old man, and I love the way that the old man is next to the young child, and you know, it's this kind of juxtaposition of youth and wisdom, and I think it's just a perfect nod to how we need to be reminded to live our lives every day like children. 3 years ago, I left a very big job in New York City for a really major institution. It was very, very busy. It was very stressful, and it eventually became quite toxic. And I started looking at trains the way most people shouldn't look at trains. And I realized I maybe need to take a step back. So I remember coming home and having this discussion with my husband, you know, telling him how I felt, how this position was making me feel. I just took my happiness and joy and my sense of like what I needed in terms of my own peace, and I put that first place. And so I said, okay, I had to have like a, you know, come to Jesus moment. And I said, what is it that if I could be doing anything I am, one, good at, and two, I would absolutely do it for free. I would do it with absolute joy, and it's interior design. So I started Hunter Gatherer Home Interiors 3 years ago, and have been blessed enough to have a number of clients who've entrusted me with their space. I took myself back to school, not that you necessarily need to, but I really wanted the instructional piece of interior design. So I took myself back to school, and I'm almost finished with my second degree in interior design. And I also sell vintage, antique and vintage. So you can find me on Instagram under Hunter Gatherer Home Interiors. And most people at Instagram know me as a New York girl, because I used to live in California, where most people would say, oh, the New York girl. So that's kind of how a New York girl happened. And it just kind of morphed into this beautiful space that, you know, I find myself in, which is creativity. And I think it's just so wonderful to be able to wake up and, you know, look at paint swatches and think about how to redesign rooms and redesign, you know, the rooms here. This is kind of like my lab. We found this old hutch on Facebook Marketplace. It was completely covered in like I don't know, like maybe like a laminate of sorts on the actual wood. It took hours and hours and days to get all of that off and to bring it back down to this very natural wood. We took off all of the knobs. We put these beautiful brass knobs on here, brass handles on here. And the only thing that's original to this piece are the latchings, because they're these beautiful antique latchings, which I love. And I needed a place because, again, this house does not have any type of closet space or storage space, as most old homes, you know, do not. So I needed some place to house like my obsession with Chinaware. So down here is where you'll find like all of my Chinaware for different parties that I will host. And it really gives me all of that room for, you know, platters and things like that. So this has really just come in handy. And then up at the top, we just laid a piece of pine board down on the top, because the top actually has holes where you know, back in the day, they would house the pots, and then the Bunsen burners would go underneath into it so that you would, you know, be able to heat up your food. And there were no working drawers, and actually these two still don't, but we wanted to have a couple of drawers that did work. So we found a local craftsman that can take at least two of the drawers or two of these and turn these into drawers. So this area was flat and these were just kind of like dummy pieces. And we had him make these beautiful drawers for us. So now it houses all of my pillar candles and taper candles inside of that piece. So this is one of my favorite pieces as well. On the top, I managed to find some beautiful brass lamps from the Salvation Army of all places. They're beautiful. I love the shape of them. And I just went and, you know, purchased some beautiful pleated shades for the lamps. And I love the fact that they, you know, have these, again, us with lights, they have that dimmer. So if I wanted to turn it on bright and turn it down low, I can do that. And again, it sets this really pretty mood. We didn't want to buy a Samsung framed TV, so we were like, how can we make one ourselves? And so we spent a weekend, you know, making this framed TV, and I think it came out, you know, really well. And I just took some antique rub and buff, and I think it was like a really kind of like bronze spray, and I wanted it to mimic this piece that I have up here, this plaque that I found. The plaque is another piece. I mean, it's got to be, you know, more than like 2 decades old. I found it when I was first getting into decorating my own first places, my own first apartments. And this was leaning against a wall in a barn. And, you know, the guy's like, oh, that's quality, that's quality. It really, truly is quality, because it's come with me in a number of places, and it's all plaster. It's done so beautiful, and I just love the scene. And every now and then, it's such a great focal point and talking point when guests come over, because we're all trying to figure out like what is happening in this scene, because you have this, you know, this longing of this woman who's kind of, you know, bringing folks on. There's a carriage we can see here, and like an angel carrying them in one direction, and then you have these folks going into another direction. So it's just, I love all of the interpretations that people have come up with on this plaque, sitting here over a cocktail and are watching a movie and stopping the movie to say, hey, let's talk about that piece. So that's kind of what I want the house to do. I want it to not only be cozy, but for you to also hear the wonderful stories behind the pieces, and think about all of the hands that have passed through time with these pieces, and I'm just a steward of them for this present moment in time. One of the other pieces that I managed to find just recently was this beautiful Victorian china cabinet, and it's got the most beautiful painting here on the bottom. It's just so gorgeous, and the painting wraps around the entire side of this piece. I'm still waiting to find a knob. The guy's like, oh, I hope you don't mind. I'm like, nope, don't mind at all that it doesn't have a knob. Eventually I'll find what I'm supposed to have. I'm okay with the imperfect of it all if something is completely perfect, and you can always, find a knob. So for now, I just open her up, and this now houses, I put a little light up at the top so that it comes on when you open it, and it houses a number of antique books, in addition to a nod to my hubby and his love for books. Tried to bring them into the room a little bit. And down here, some beautiful decorating books, and just I love collecting. So like I'll collect different things from, seashells to antique knobs, just things that I forage for outside. I'm huge on foraging. And so it houses some of those cute little special finds. Rita, this one's for you. So one of my first clients, my first decorating clients, was a woman by the name of Rita. I was picking up a Facebook Marketplace find. I found this beautiful piece of Wedgwood. I love Wedgwood. And this was posted online. And I was like, I need this piece. I love Wedgwood, especially the blue and white and the green and white. And arrived at her house, and we just had a moment together. And I, was sharing with her at that present moment, I had just started school. I just started going back to school for interior design. I kind of just gave her the trajectory of like where I saw my life going. And, she was telling me about hers, and we just shared in this very intimate woman to woman moment. And there was no pretense. There was none of it. And she could see the passion, I think, in me and in my tenor of how I love, what I do. And she says, I'm looking for someone to decorate my living room and my dining room. Would you want the job? And I couldn't believe the universe had answered me that quickly. So that was one of my first clients, and that this piece is beyond special to me. That someone who I just met off of a Facebook Marketplace pickup entrusted me to do design in her house. And you can see her house on the website. This wall is another one of those spaces that has gone through a number of changes. I would, much to my husband's chagrin, he'd come home and I'd have the wall completely done. And then it'd be completely done again, because it wasn't talking to me yet. And like I said, sometimes you just got to get a piece or a space and let it just sit and let it just, it will talk. I promise you, it will talk to you. And so not even maybe a month or two ago, this wall finally spoke to me. It told me what it wanted. And so what it wanted was a match between the green, the antique, this is called Avon Green. It's a historic color from Benjamin Moore. And it wanted more green. So I pulled the Avon Green from the shiplap wall here. And these are two old wooden mirror frames that I found thrifting probably when we first moved into the house about 3 years ago. And they sat in the basement for all of these past 3 years. They just sat there. And oftentimes my husband would come downstairs and be like, you still have those frames? I'm like, yep, they haven't spoken to me yet. And so they started speaking to me, and I said, okay, I know exactly what I want to do with this wall. And I just found this beautiful wallpaper, and I framed them in here. I had my husband make these beautiful little boxes. Again, a nod to him. He's never built a thing in his life, and he's building like crazy. So he built these beautiful boxes for me, and I took inside of the boxes in one of these sections here. It might be way down there now. Yeah, I did these lights. So at nighttime, they will come on and they'll illuminate the wallpaper, and it just really is so pretty. And then again, just foraging for sticks and woods, and just kind of made this kind of like a whole woodland moment. And then the pheasant was a pleasant surprise, because we were out sourcing for a market, and a friend of mine who was with me sourcing, and she saw this pheasant. I was like, oh my God, I need this pheasant. And so this is the moment of the pheasant. And I just took some wire and, again, my favorite flowers, hydrangea, and I made it look as though the bird is, bringing these hydrangeas back to, their home. And again, this is now the wall is done. To cover up the hideousness, my little build, I had this is a little box that I made for our thermostat. So my first attempt at building, I think I honestly am the reason why my husband started building. He watched me build this. This is now the central heart of the home. It's the kitchen. You'll see that this kitchen is still got a lot of modern touches to it. It kind of bleeds off of the vintage part of the rest of the house, and you'll see a lot of the whites and the blacks, because again, people who flipped houses thought the white and the black was the thing to do, right? So we kind of still like the white and black, but how can we take that and add more of our aesthetic into it and we did that with a number of different things. The first thing we did was we took this island, which was just all white, and we wrapped it in this beautiful wood. We took probably about 3 different shades of color and blended it together, and then sanded it and blended it together and sanded it. I did the first round, and then my husband really finished the rest of it. And he wrapped the siding, and then we just did this really pretty trim here. So I think that this is probably how it will stay until eventually The next project will be to take this entire thing out and then just kind of start again with, you know, the aesthetic or look that we really want to be the end result for this space. But I think for right now, this is absolutely perfect for what we're going for. And then again, because there's not a whole lot of space here, we have to try to find it where we can. So like I found this another Facebook Marketplace find. It was just thin enough to like fit in this space while still giving the opening of the entryway from the living room. This now houses all of my beautiful pieces that we do use. I say, like, if you have it, use it, right? Instead of just keeping it locked away. And here are all like my tureens. I tend to pull these more out like when we're having like real dinner parties or during the holidays. I love collecting tins, antique tins. And so there's a number of different antique tins in here. I just find them to be so pretty. Again, and I'm drawn to like these very neutral types of colors. So all of these old tins, from soaps to tobacco, to tea, etc. It's such a wonderful place to house a collection in just one space. And then up here are things that I pull out quite often, depending on how I want to set a space, with creamers and you know, gravy boats and things of that sort, and tureens. I love ironstone. I collect a lot of ironstone pieces, and I just think it makes a beautiful table. It really does. And there's just something so perfectly classic about white ironstone to me. So when we first got here, the kitchen had not only the stainless steel oven, but it also had this monster of a stainless steel hood. Everything here was really, really, really modern. And we kept kind of bumping our heads even on it. It was like that obtrusive into the room. So we had that entire thing taken down. I found a beautiful oven hood that I had to modify. I actually found it on Facebook Marketplace, and we modified it. We had someone come and just custom make it so it managed to fit exactly how it fits now in this space. And then we just outlined it with the wood topping on the top to kind of really give it that seamless look. I took a copper bar and placed here with some of the copper that I started to collect, because I think eventually the kitchen will start to lean a little bit more Downton Abbey kitchen. Is really kind of what the end result of this will be. So it'll be a little mixture of like Downton Abbey meets 21st century with the subway tile. But I really want to blend a lot more of the woods and the warm notes of the copper into the space. I think eventually we'll, you know, get another oven. When we're not using the gas range, I just went and had a really pretty piece of granite cut, and I just placed on the top of this. So now this also becomes its own surface. You know, I can put hot stuff on here. My daughter, when she's making pizza, can make pizza on here. So it really does become this another this other landing spot for the things that you're doing in the kitchen. And then just adding little vintage touches, from the crocks to, you know, the tian bowl that we'll use for salads and things like that. You know, crushing up, I love bringing herbs in and crushing up herbs, and, you know, making all kinds of like little tinctures and potions and things like that. I found this recently at a thrift shop, and this again houses, you know, all of our extras. I'm a sucker for plants, and so the house is littered with them. When we go to the side of the room where we eat at, I'll show you another spot where, you know, plants just have taken over. The sink is full of plants. So I just find that bringing like the real life out from outside, greenery into your space, just there's something that just warms it up. And then over in this section, I actually call this my praying corner. So I've got, you know, just a wonderful nod to the creator here. And this is just a spot where I tend to often go when, you know, things are heavy and I have my moment. So this is kind of like my church over here. And then I have these beautiful antique breadboards that that I found. They're really hard to find in the wild. I call it the wild because you just never know what you're going to find out there. But a couple of beautiful breadboards in this section, and this beautiful alabaster lamp is over here. Again, adding, you know, real greenery. I tend to mix real and faux together, and I just find it to be so beautiful. These are all real, but these are dried hydrangeas from our garden. At the end of the year, I love to go out and just clip and create these beautiful moments and these beautiful vignettes using the hydrangea and pieces that I forage from outside. And on this section, soon we'll have a little bar, a functioning bar area. Where that will be, I don't know. So now we're walking into the space that just is part of the kitchen, right? It's the dining of it all. We don't really eat here that often, but we try to at least a couple times out of the night or out of the week, you know, have a sit-down dinner, myself, my hubby, and our one child when I could pull her out of the bedroom to have a meal. For me, I mean, I remember growing up as a child and, you know, having to ask to be excused from the table. You know, it's crazy like how far we've come. We try to make this the spot where a few nights out of the week we will join together and, you know, bring ideas and jokes and laughs and, you know, just the how are you of it all. One of the things that I wanted to point out was just the centerpiece of it all. I love doing a tablescape, and every season it will change, and who knows what is going to come out of the creative and doing it. But this year I chose to do a real, this is again blending some real with a little bit of faux. This is a real Christmas tree, and then I just blended it with some faux pieces here, some faux berries. This is all things that I foraged from outside, all of the surround. I always love to play around with the chandelier, and I think that these types of chandeliers really do lean themselves to the opportunity to like just have so much fun in decorating them up. Some years this has been filled to the brim where you can't really even see the arms, but this year I really wanted to I wanted to lean back a little bit in Christmas. Like I wanted to just have these really beautiful subtle touches, not be so much, which I tend to do. But so this year I kind of went just a little bit more streamlined and still have the beauty of these, again, faux and real pieces. So all of these pieces with the little blueberries, you know, we're out, it's just a foraging day into the woods, which is so much fun, and just, you know, blended them all together with some of the faux. And then I just wrapped it with a little red bow. And I think because there's so much happening down here, this needed to be a little bit more still up at the top, because I really wanted your eye to focus more so here. And then again, just a beautiful table setting of it all, from, you know, vintage cups. These are beautiful old Holt Howard Santa mugs, and just vintage Christmas pattern. I have the settings for all of these, but I tend to get greedy and want to show all of the dishes. So I just blended in a piece of each dish from two different patterns. And I think it again, it adds that whimsy to Christmas when you can play around with patterns and styles and be able to utilize all of those things. And you don't have to say, you know, oh, darn it, you know, this year I only get to use this one plate. No, I'm going to use all the plates. So I just pulled all of the plates out, from, you know, brown and white transferware to red and white transferware to this beautiful, I think it's like an old vintage pattern from Better Homes and Gardens that's no longer in production. I tell my kids, I'm like, please be so careful. I don't know if I can find it anymore. But again, you know, I try to remember that it's just an object, it's just a thing. So, which is why, you know, we use them, because it shouldn't be behind a door. Use the pieces that you have and enjoy the pieces that you have, because what's the point of collecting and sourcing all of this beautiful stuff for it to just be behind a door? The staircase is another project that we undertook over the summer. There were these really kind of, I don't know, I'm just going to call them ugly planks that we had here. And so as opposed to taking them all up, we actually painted them. And I'm just kind of letting this sit with me before I completely invest in maybe a runner. I don't know. I'm just like waiting to see, like, does the stair want a runner or does it just want to be painted? So we had to lift this because it is one of the darkest spaces in the house, being that there is no natural light that really comes into the space, and there's no place for lighting. So we have these beautiful LED lights that we were able to put in these sconces. But other than that, the stairwell stays pretty dark. But even still, I was like, I have to have a moment for a gallery wall because I love art so very much. So you get a little bit of light that comes in from the sunroom, but I took this space, which before was all family wall, was nothing but family pictures, and those are now housed, neatly in a basket here until these frames become spaces for some of those family pictures. But I really wanted to have this be cohesive. We had a number of like different frames and it wasn't sitting well with me. And I was like, how do we do this where I still am honoring family, but still making it beautiful, a beautiful, gallery, a beautiful stairwell. So what I did was I took these beautiful antique frames. For now, they're empty because we just haven't gotten there, and these will soon be filled with family photos in them. And then again, lending to a mix of real paintings and faux paintings. You'll see a number of that happening as you walk up the space. So we have like real, oil paintings mixed in with just, framed photos of paintings that we like. On this side of the wall, again, and just a collage of beautiful oil paintings mixed in with sketches and lithographs. I also like to use like 3D pops of art on walls. I don't think everything should be just paintings. I think to add some of that depth and playfulness to a wall, don't be scared to use other pieces. So for example, here we have the painting of the husband and wife, and he's sitting here and he's playing the violin, and then I was lucky enough to find, a small violin that I think just goes so perfectly with this piece. I don't think a right way or wrong way to do a gallery wall. Do the things that make you happy. It's your own portion of the Met, if you will. Now we're coming into the guest room. This is by far one of my favorite spaces in the room. Come on in here a little bit. This room has the weirdest shape, and I think all of upstairs does, because when the house was being redone, flipped, this was actually really low up here, and they vaulted the entire upstairs. I really wish they would have vaulted the downstairs and then left the upstairs more low, but that's just what I would have done. But still, I'm happy to have the extra space upstairs. So in here, we thought, like, how can we make this, because it is so wide open, how can we bring some of that coziness that we wanted people to feel when they came over and stayed as a guest in our house? And like I said, some nights I am the guest in my house. We started, so every wall was just white, and so this is a blend of colors, and I cannot remember the two colors that I used, but they're two historic colors that I actually blended together to achieve this color that is here on the wall. And I just absolutely am in love with it. As I'm mixing it and just kind of experimenting, my husband's like, I hope you know what you're doing, because you're going to have to continue to blend those two colors. And so it turned out well. And so what I wanted to do too in this space was, again, give another moment for gallery. I love gallery walls, and so this is a over time, curated collection of pieces that I found, and then also some prints that I found just using just historic websites that you can go on and grab beautiful pieces of art. I love to mix old pieces with prints. Even if they have holes in them, if you love the art, live with the holes, live with the imperfection. I promise you it's okay. And it just adds to the story of what that piece is. I took just a little box and just kind of, framed in the the outlet or the switch to turn on and off the lights. And again, I love adding greenery and things like that. So another wreath that I created. Wreaths are my thing. I love making a wreath. Like if anyone wants a wreath, you let me know. I'll make you a wreath. I love them. I just love the creativity that comes out of wreaths from what you find foraging into the woods. And then on this side of the room, I was so lucky enough to find this very old, early 1800s desk. And I went to pick up this desk from a woman who was selling it on Facebook Marketplace. And if you see this, and I hope you're well, she lives in Montana now. She was leaving from Staten Island and she was heading to Montana. And I always, when I pick up a piece, if I ever come to your house to pick up a piece, I promise you I'll always ask you, regardless of what it is what's the story behind this piece? Like, how did you come to acquire it? And some people know the story, and which I find to be so fascinating. With this piece, this desk was gifted to her husband from her husband's, it went from her husband to the dad, to the husband's father, to his father's father, so his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather. She pulls out for us the day that we get there. She says, oh, I want to show you that there's like some markings inside of one of the drawers, right? But what she didn't realize is that when we got home, and I think it's actually in this drawer, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm going to just play around with this for a moment because it's just so fascinating when you find stuff like this. Yeah, so she says, oh, I just want to let you know, like there's something, that talks about the desk, and it does. But then as we got home and we pulled it out of the car, this desk, or this drawer, flips upside down. And underneath here, and very faintly, and I'll try to put it into the light, you can see the writing of the person who made the desk. And it's signed like early 1800s. So I'm like, to me, this is amazing. Like, this has made it through time. And it still stands the test of time. And it's crafted so beautifully. And again, it's a different version of something that I like, right? Like, it's not Art Nouveau and it's not Victorian, but it's just this beautiful, I don't even know the period, to be honest, of this desk, but I just love the structure of it, and I love the legs of it, and I just love the sturdiness of it. It just looks it's so well crafted. This is one of my favorite pieces in here, and so I'll come in here, oftentimes sit, I'll, read a magazine in here. I have my dad's old Bible that stayed with him, and I just leave that open. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful space to just sit back and just live in silence for a little bit. We wanted to make sure the guests had a really cozy spot. I just, again, minimal on, I love Christmas, but I really kind of wanted to tone it down just a little bit and just have these beautiful little nods to Christmas. So I found this really pretty red and green plaid. This is actually a tablecloth, and I just used it as the end of a bed skirt because I thought it was just so perfect to add this really pretty color to. And then I found the deer throw pillow there, and I thought this is perfect. I know everyone's like so into like the Ralph Lauren of it all right now, so this is like kind of my nod to that. The beautiful plaid. So Ralph, if you're in town and you want to come and spend the night, the bed's yours. On the other side of the room now, I'll start with the fireplace because this was not here. My husband actually built this one night. Again, we were just kind of dreaming up ideas of like, oh, what would be better, here. And so the folks who had staged the house had this just kind of modern fireplace, which totally wasn't our vibe. So we took it all apart, dismantled it, and just left the insert, and then built out this entire thing. And again, when I say we, I totally mean he. I was there for moral support and for just creative juice. Like how I wanted it to look in the end. And then I added the embellishments and I did the staining. So I had a part to play in it, but he took care of the build of it all, and it came out so beautifully. It gives off the most generous amount of heat, and just having something that has you know, some look of fire, I think, is always special in a house. And if you're lucky enough to have a fireplace, I think even better. So this is ours for now until we get another one again. Another nod that we put in here was a little nod to, I think, a little bit more of modernity. This chair is just absolutely gorgeous. We were able to find 2 of these beautiful leather chairs. They're these beautiful, like, kind of like sling-backed leather chairs. I just absolutely love them. I found them at a Salvation Army. They are in perfect condition. And the woman was like, oh, you can have them both for $100. And I just about fell on the floor. And quickly did not, here you go, and got them home. And I just absolutely love them. They are super comfortable. They're the perfect, you know, resting spot for just coming in here, grabbing a book, sitting by this little fire. That has, when I turn on the actual heat, it has a little crackle to it. And it's just, again, just a nice little place to get away from the TV and get away from the noise. And just, I love moments in your house when you can have moments of reflection. And I definitely think that this room is able to offer that to anyone who enjoys it. And then we wanted to make sure that if guests came over and, you know, someone needed a space to just kind of, you know, do their makeup, or, you know, they wanted to use another surface, we built this out. And I just told hubby, just make it really kind of rustic. And so we just added some legs that we, you know, gotten from Home Depot, and a beautiful piece of pine board on here. And it's the perfect spot to do your makeup right now. I've got, you know, just, I love the way that this looks. I just love the beauty of, you know, dried, you know, peony petals draped on here until someone comes and they actually need the space to use. And who knows, I just, again, foraging is my thing, so I tend to hold on to any bits of nature that I can find. And then up here, we wanted to have a space to show some collections and of, you know, not only books, but just pieces, you know, gathered throughout our time together, from, you know, old suitcases to old paintbrushes, and a nod to my hubby, who again loves fantasy fiction. So we wanted to invite him into the room right alongside me. So here is where a lot of the artwork that has been done for so many of the books that he loves, they've come to life in these beautiful pages, and so a lot of them are signed by the artist. So this is beautiful opposition to one another, right? Like you see this beautiful, like vintage, you know, 18th century or early 19th century landscape amidst, you know, this 21st century fantasy fiction. But I think, again, if you are putting the pieces in your house that are genuine to who you are, that's the kiss. Before any guest leaves, they do know that there is a notice to all residents, to guests, that they have to pay a bill. No, I'm joking. This is one of my, again, another little favorite piece. Hubby and I, he was so kind to go with me to the Gramercy. They were closing in New York City, and we waited outside online in the rain just to get a piece of something from the Gramercy Hotel, because it's such a landmark hotel in New York City. And so we walk in, and it's not anything of what I was envisioning how the sale would go. They kind of had it very kind of staged off with how you could, like, what pieces you could see. And so we got there, and we were completely underwhelmed. But I did find the framed notice to guests of how much they would be paying per night to stay in one of the rooms. And so I thought, if nowhere else, this is the perfect place to have a piece of the Gramercy. Home, oh goodness, that's a loaded question, because it can mean so many things to so many people, right? Home to some can just be, you know, receiving a letter when you're deep in the battlefield of, you know, some foreign country. And home can be just a warm cup of tea. It's the place where you feel safe to be yourself, to be completely free from outside noise, and inviting, you know, company over, and laughing, and movies. And it's where my husband and my youngest child live. It's where our 2 dogs live. Home is just, it's a sense of security. I've been asking the universe for so many blessings and gifts, and being okay with not having those blessings and gifts, but being able to at least utilize them, if that makes sense, in terms of like what your creative gifts are. I know for me, my creative gift is the gift of interior decor and design, and bringing, nothing makes me happier than when I see a client like, because of how I made their space not only look, but how that space made them feel. It's like pulling a feeling out of someone and then putting that onto like a canvas. This home for me is, and I think for my husband too, it's a landing page. It is the season of our lives right now where we're finally able to just be still. When I first moved here, it took forever for me to get rid of boxes. Like, that's how scared I was that we're gonna have to move again for some unknown reason. And so now that the boxes are gone and, years have passed, this house has allowed me not only to just breathe a little bit, it's also allowed me to explore my creativity. It's allowed me to explore the parts of myself that I was fearful to even think that I was allowed to explore. And so family here and friends have just kind of pushed, I think, both myself and my husband along the running path, cheering us on, if you will, with, being okay with, for us wanting to do the things for so long, we kind of just thought were just these sidebar dreams. So this space is really allowed for dreams. It's allowed for exploration. It's more than just home for us. It's I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. It's security. I think it's a space to just take a moment.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Laura Dowling. I'm here at the historic Cheekwood Mansion in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm decorating for the holidays. I'd love to show you around.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 Days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Laura Dowling. I'm the former chief floral designer at the White House. Now I'm an author, speaker, designer, and I had the honor and privilege of decorating historic Cheekwood this holiday season. So we're sitting here in the morning room of the beautiful Cheekwood Mansion, and it's the property on the historic grounds and gardens of Cheekwood here in Nashville, Tennessee. So the morning room is the room that is just full of light. It overlooks one of the gardens, the Swan Lawn, and I wanted to decorate it as if it was a snow-dusted forest with these trees that shimmer in shades of white, gold, and silver. I didn't start out to be a florist. I was a policy analyst in Washington, D.C. for many years. And I think I always enjoyed creative things and entertaining, but it wasn't until I took a trip to Paris in about 2000 where I discovered the French bouquet, started studying French flowers and techniques. I really was inspired by the style. So coming back to DC, I kept my full-time job. I was a communications strategist working out of my kitchen, but I started a part-time floral design business. And it was from that position in 2009 where I heard, my husband actually heard that the White House florist retired, and he suggested I apply for the job. So I wasn't even a full-time florist, just working part-time with a passion for design. And that's when I started competing. It was an 8-month competition with a final interview and contest between finalists. The First Lady selected me to be the chief floral designer. So that's an amazing story, I think. Welcome to the grand entrance foyer at Cheekwood. The theme of the room is Visions of Sugar Plum, and my inspiration was this incredible space. Very Italianate in style. It's 2 stories. The stone mantle, the 14-foot tree is the centerpiece, and you can see the rich colors of Italian style, the plums and purples, the amber orange, and so layer upon layer, not only of the ornaments and ribbons, but the detail touches, these gilded branches and fruit. So fruit and rich colors, really part of this theme. So at the top, you'll see that there's a Cupid motif throughout the space. I think in a room like this that is grand in scale, that you want to balance an important element like the tree with an equally important piece. So to frame this mantle, and we couldn't touch it with any decorative element, we used a delicate frame, this metal frame, and then built up with chicken wire, and then starting with the branches and ornaments, layer by layer, to get the same feeling of the lightness and the fruit and the flowers. The color scheme, the gilded branches are the finishing touch. So I think it's an important frame to the mantle, and I love how it speaks to the tapestry above it. To lead people upstairs to the next space, we designed this garland that is garland in deep swoops and swags, and I'll show you as we go up here, so that we cover up this beautiful brass railing. But people will notice this motif of the festoon and the swag throughout in the architectural detail and in the design detail. And then I want to show you how we carried out the putti theme. So the putti ornaments that are woven in, just kind of a charming touch. And the sparkly fruit and the reflective ornaments here at the top. So everywhere people look, and as they go up the stairs, they'll be able to see something beautiful. I think the main difference between decorating for the holidays and Christmas and designing flowers or arrangements or any other kind of decor is kind of subtle. Of course, with the holidays, this is the time to bring out the glitter and the shine and sparkle, maybe more metallic tones. But I would say the approach is actually very similar in that all of the designs are built in layers. And that's one thing I learned in the French approach to design, is that you start with a base layer, you start creating movement and texture, and then just continue to add different layers and levels. And especially focusing on the last and outer layers, which are the floating elements, the transparent things, the things that bring the whole decor or arrangement to life. So here in the Christmas decor, you'll see that there are a lot of branches that dance above the trees. In some of the rooms, there are butterflies and birds that seem like they're whirling around. And so it's very important to add those finishing touches to get that overall magical look. Here's a kind of an overview, a snapshot of the creative design work that went into decorating all the different rooms of the Cheekwood Mansion, which was built in about 1929. The architectural features stand out to me. From the first time I saw the space and all the different rooms, I knew that we'd really want to integrate the design work and the themes with the setting in the mansion. So from room to room, everyone will see different color schemes and palettes that are designed to enhance the overall setting, the furnishings, and the overarching theme of the whole decor this year is called Gifts of the Garden. tying into the botanical garden at Cheekwood. Each room has a different botanical theme. So starting in the entrance foyer, there'll be visions of sugar plums, the butterfly garden, the enchanted garden. Here in the morning room, it's the winter garden. So it will be fun to show everyone all of the different themes and color schemes room to room. I'd love to show you the next place on the tour, which is the Emerald Allet. Follow me. So welcome to the Emerald Allet, and the inspiration here are these beautiful frescoes and on the walls, the greens, the green drapery. I wanted to do something that would be very natural and fitting with the botanical theme, but also just be a kind of a serene walkthrough leading you to the next space. So these are faux boxwood topiaries, but very nice ones. And the touch that I think is a little unusual is this beautiful green velvet ribbon with a gold edge that instead of something more predictable, maybe like moss, we did this ruched ribbon technique with elegant ribbon that I think adds a festive touch. And then they're grounded in these French style, Provençal style emerald green pots. So in a symmetrical placement like this, it leads to the next space. And over here you'll see a focal point flower arrangement on the pier table, again in shades of green. Just a very soft and I think peaceful way to lead to the next space, which has a lot of color. Follow me. Welcome to the drawing room. This is the biggest room in the mansion. And so there's a 16-foot tree that we decorated in a pretty vivid color palette. You can see the turquoise and fuchsia, the lime green. It's surprising, I think, but the theme is enchanted garden. So I wanted to get that sense of colors and flowers, birds and butterflies. I was really inspired by this magnificent rug in the room. The color palette is a more muted shade of all these colors. So I thought by amplifying them a little bit, actually it's quite a bit, to have this vivid color scheme, it would help bring the room and the decor to life. So the tree has a few thousand ornaments on it. We started by decorating on the innermost layer with the biggest shiny elements pushed all the way in, and then building out in all of these layers of ornaments that are a mix of glass and shatterproof. I think one design element worth pointing out is that these ball garlands that you see sort of floating away from the tree help add extra dimension and movement. And then as you look around the tree, you'll see the butterflies and ornaments, the butterflies, birds, and including the ones at the very top. So my vision was to have it look as if birds were flying and floating around and escaping from the top. And it's just kind of a whimsical touch, but that high up in the air, I think it draws people's attention. On the ground, I tried something I haven't done before, but I had these faux boxwood balls that I wrapped as gifts. So instead of actual presents under the tree, these are a kind of a take on that, but with an organic touch. The big tree has the two topiaries flanking it in the windows that also just extend the decor, carry out the theme. And then with a big flower arrangement on the pier table, helping to bring balance to the room. I'm always thinking about balance, so having the big tree balanced by these kinds of arrangements, and then the mantle garland over here, again, just layers and layers of lush ornaments and a few special touches of things woven in. You'll see more of the butterflies and birds. So this is the enchanted garden theme, hopefully coming to life. Many of the mantels in the mansion are just extraordinary, and I love the detail, more of the Cupid motif here. The whole piece is topped by a gilded eagle overseeing the room. So to create this piece, it starts with a garland, simple garland. Again, no attach points here, so we actually used weights, like weightlifting weights, to tie the ribbon and keep it from rolling off. So it starts by building up with the ornaments woven in, and then ribbons and textures added, the gilded leaves, the finishing touch to go around and place the birds and the butterflies. So to match the tree, to give it some volume, again, to balance out the room. But, you know, I think the ribbon choices too with the colors help tie everything together. So you'll see a lot of jewel tones in this piece. When I was looking at how to finish off the space and add the detail, I saw these two turquoise urns, cloisonne urns that are part of the Cheekwood collection, and with the color scheme knew that they would be perfect to flank the mantle. And then there are a couple of additions of fun trees, jeweled trees here on the pier table that also tie in the colors and just to add, to make sure that the entire room has a festive feel. My favorite memories of working at the White House really do center around the holiday season, because that is the time when the White House was always most beautiful. All of the trees that decorated the mansion, the White House, were fresh trees, so that scent of pine, I just remember that as being so amazing, overwhelming, and very beautiful. So working with all the volunteers, the guest designers to create the magic of the White House Christmas was just an incredible experience. So it wasn't only the decor, I think it was this sense of history and how we were carrying out each First Lady's vision, which is always unique and special. And so having that historical perspective too was really exciting and fun. One of the things I've been working on, in addition to all of the planning that went into Cheekwood, was writing a book about Christmas. It's called Designing Christmas. It's my 5th book, and you know, it's hard to pick a favorite book, but I think this might be my new favorite. It was many years in the making. I photographed my own house over the course of several years, so it's also very personal. And I just wanted to go back and break down for people what the creative process is like, how to come up with a theme, taking things from my White House experience, and how to bring that home. So the book includes a 10-step creative process, 10 of my favorite elements you'll see from room to room in the decor: the tree, the topiaries, the garland, of course a wreath, and breaking down those elements and showing how they can all roll up to create a really extravagant look, or it can just be one item, maybe a fantastic wreath that will be enough. And then finally, the book includes 10 different design themes. So everything from a fanciful Parisian carousel to a traditional hunt country Christmas, and experimenting with different colors and themes. So there's a lot packed into the book, and I hope people will enjoy it. So yeah, follow me as we go to the library. Welcome to the library, and it's hard to have a favorite room, but I think this might be one of my favorite rooms in the mansion. It is so cozy and warm with this warm wood paneling. There's a fireplace and a cozy seating arrangement, so it's the kind of room where you want to feel like you want to just pull right up and sit by the fire. So when I was thinking about the decor for this room and using a more traditional theme of red and green with gold, I was inspired by the hunt country and the heritage here in Tennessee, but also in general of the motifs of the stag, the horse, the hounds. And so you'll see that throughout the space. There's a red tree and a green tree in here as the focal points, and then embellished with some other smaller topiaries around the space. This tree has a lot of ornaments, again, built from the inside out to the outer edges with these floating swags of ribbon tied in. So we actually make 3-dimensional shapes, wire them together, and then put them in at different angles to add some movement. I brought a few pieces from my own collection to help decorate. At the top of the tree, you'll see a pine cone stag, and with these charming stag ornaments. But the pine cone stag is just made from a craft form where I glued pine cone scales. And then there's a matching one on the green tree. If you come over here, I'll show you this one that has some pistachio shells on it. So as a tree topper, I think it's a fun idea. The green tree with different shades of green that all go together. This mix of organic, like the moss balls with the shiny, and then the glass ornaments that seem to glow from within. Now over here, to kind of ground the chandelier, is a topiary design that is made in a play on the half and half of green and red in the room. So if you look closely, you can see the red berries on one half, the green on the other. And I kind of love how that becomes a focal point in the room. The mantle over here was a little bit tricky. There's no actual place to attach it. So we did what a lot of people do at home, use removable strips to hang this, just to have something above the mantle, again, flanked by the topiary trees. But in this room and with the architectural detail, if you look above the painting up here, you'll see the swag, the festoons again. So all of that becomes a design element that we can replicate throughout the space. So when I was heading to Nashville, I took a whole suitcase and packed up some things from home, again, from my own collection. This, I thought, would be the perfect way to create a vignette. So creating vignettes in a space like this is a fun way, again, to balance out the room and draw the eye. These horses with the topiaries, crafts that you can do at home. They start with a simple wood frame and then just embellish with ornaments, pine cones. I wanted the whole space to have a natural feel and very traditional, that kind of warm homespun feeling of a traditional Christmas. So follow me, we'll head to the loggia for the orangerie theme. So I know I said that the library was my favorite room, but it might actually be this room. I was so excited to see how it would actually come to life. It's a 2-story garden space with so much bright light and a whole wall of windows. So my vision from the beginning was to use citrus colors in the spirit of a classical orangerie, lemon, lime, oranges, and carry that throughout the space. So the centerpieces in the room, the grand centerpiece is the iconic fresh poinsettia tree. This is something they do at Cheekwood every year. And so this year I wanted to weave in other kinds of plants, the orchids and ferns, with actual ornaments and lemon branches, so making it more of an integrated design that would coordinate with the orange tree and the lemon tree on either side. So these are 14 feet tall, the big one is 16 feet tall, and we added a few charming touches like the dragonflies up here. So with these pieces in the room, to balance it out, to add some dimension and interest, we created 4 wreaths in the windows. They're 4 feet by 4 feet and made from thousands of handcrafted florets and layers of decor. They really took almost the full 2-week period to make and install. And they're in these colors that are the citrus colors matching the trees. So around the perimeter of the room are 8 or 9 of these lemon trees that are faux trees, but we've woven in special branches to make them come alive. And the technique I mentioned from the green Allet, this ribbon work that is ruched ribbon, helps give a pop of color. So I'm very excited about how this whole space came together, and it changes no matter what time of day you're here. So in the morning, you can see the light and the detail on the tree. In the afternoon, the whole space is flooded with light. So the lemon tree, you know, it's an unusual choice, I admit, for Christmas decor, and surprisingly, I was able to find yellow ornaments and gold ornaments, but putting this together, again, with gold and ranges of color, I think helps make it have a festive mood. So the starting point, as always, start from deep within, build out, and put the smaller ornaments so that they kind of float outside, creating that sense of movement and liveliness. And then the finishing touches to make the lemon tree look alive or to add these branches of lemons and fruit. So it's kind of a whimsical design, and I would just encourage people to focus on using different colors, and it's surprising what you can do. So there are fresh plants at the bottom, the orchids, just to make the overall look feel fresh. Underneath this frame in the poinsettia tree, well, the frame, right now you see all the plants, but there's this metal structure with an amazing amount of irrigation hoses underneath. So all of the plants can be watered throughout the 8-week or so season that it will be up. And to decorate this, the horticultural team here at Cheekwood worked with my design team, and it looked like they were climbing Mount Everest, but they would actually go out, place the plants, and then add the decor together to get this overall integrated soft feel. So sometimes I feel like the poinsettia tree, it's a popular trend. It was at the White House too. I feel like it can look a little harsh, but by softening it with other plants, orchids, ferns, things like that, adding the branches, you add a little bit more life and movement, and I think it gives a softer look. So the special thing on the orange tree, I think, to focus on are these ornaments that are very translucent, that when the tree is lit from within, they glow. When the light hits them from the window, they have a special illumination. But the same thing, it's a monochromatic idea, which I think gives a lot of impact in a space. So primarily the lime, the green tree, balanced and flanked by the orange tree and the lemon tree. When you have a grand space like this, I think having that monochromatic color blocking is a good way to go. So next we'll see the dining room. Follow me this way. The dining room at Cheekwood has a very specific color scheme. The walls are salmon pink and light pink. There's a blue ceiling, blue draperies. So I knew that it would be important to work with that color palette in thinking through the decor. So from the beginning, I had blue and pink on my mind, different shades. And then I also added in some lavender. So I think adding in that kind of touch helps keep the palette from looking too much like a baby shower and maybe more festive. Also with gilded accents, the gold leaves, the embellishments of sparkle with the different ornaments. That's a way to work with maybe an unusual color palette for the holidays, but make it all work together. One of the most exciting things I think about the room is this table setting of Versace china, the bird and butterfly theme, which goes perfectly with the theme of the room, which is the bird and butterfly garden. So the minute I settled on the design scheme and the color scheme, I thought this is the china that we need to use for the room. It's just the perfect spirit of whimsy and detail, the colors. So this wonderful company, Replacements, loaned the china to us, including the glassware, to create a very opulent table that I think sets off the whole space. So the trees were underneath here are pencil trees. I know that's hard to believe, but by taking crystal branches and other branches, you can actually build out the tree to get a different shape. And so it's kind of fun to see how we did that in order to add on all of these ornaments that go all the way inside to create depth and then come out through the edges. And the palette of blue, lilac, you can see some of the lilac touches here, I think just creates a really festive look. So in the background up high are the wreaths that are made. They started out as plain boxwood wreaths that are covered in gold leaf with an unusual ribbon trim all the way around the wreath, and then the center medallion that has the butterfly touches. So it's important to work in levels and layers. I never really do anything on a flat plane, including the wreaths, and I think they really help set off the trees and balance the space. If we walk this way, I'll talk a little bit about the flowers in the room. So on a grand sideboard, side table like this, you can do something in the middle, or as we did here, create a pair, and then we can showcase a little more of the Versace china, also in this pink palette. But this is a nice way to focus attention on the beautiful portrait in the room. These are faux flowers, but arranged in a natural French style, and including adding in just touches of branches that float above the arrangement. So really the key to getting a natural look with any arrangement, whether fresh or faux, is adding the elements that float around and create the depth and movement. So one of my favorite pieces in the dining room is this mantelpiece that frames this extraordinary surround, fireplace surround. It's blue lapis. It might be one of the only ones in the country. And so striking on its own, but then decorated for Christmas. I use this medallion again that I brought from home. I thought, given the porcelain on the table and the porcelain in the collection, adding a piece like that as a center medallion was a fun touch. So in this construct, in this design, more is more, philosophy I like to follow. And there are ribbon rosettes and probably about 12 different kinds of ribbons that are all in the color palette but woven in. You can see the bee motif. So in some ways this room, even though it's called Birds and Butterflies, it has a very French feel, and I think Marie Antoinette would be at home here. But the garland underneath, a natural looking green garland that is just covered and embellished with the ornaments and ribbons, tying in this with the flowers and then the two trees in the room. So one of the more opulent rooms on the tour, again, one of my favorites. So next we'll head to the morning room. Welcome to the morning room. It's kind of the grand finale of the Cheekwood tour this year. And so for this space, I wanted something that everyone could relate to. I was inspired by the space, the light that is in this room overlooking the Swan Lawn. It's just a beautiful light-filled room. So coming up with a winter wonderland, winter garden theme seemed like just the right thing for the space. And here behind me is a winter forest of 5 trees with these subtle gradations of color. So there's a focal point piece, the big white tree that has a natural touch of pine cones and more butterflies and birds, but all shimmering shades of white, flanked by 2 gold trees and then silver. I think by using the different variations of color and subtle color and metallic elements, that it creates this whole shimmering feel. So I wanted people to really reminisce and feel as if they were walking into a snow-dusted forest. So the trees are the focal point, and then over here to flank the room and to set off the mantelpiece is this garland that starts as just crystal branches and white branches. So building up that theme, adding the twinkling lights in. So you can actually get these wonderful lights now that can go in over the top of the decor. They're on the filament wire and battery operated. So you just sort of tuck them in and around to give this magical touch. The wreath is matching above with snowberries and winter berries. The touch of red, I think, just brings a little more of the natural element into the mix. So all of that together, I think, creates this sort of soft, whisper-like decor, maybe a little bit different from some of the more colorful rooms. All of this decor is then balanced by the arrangements. There are 2 pier tables here in the room, and so we just wanted to do something that seem like a snowy day. The hydrangea that has some glistening, sparkly elements to it. The whole room just kind of glistens and glows, especially at different times of the day. So if you come here in the afternoon, you'll see that light streaming in. The morning light is also beautiful. So a lot of people say this might be their favorite space, but I did really want people to feel like they had walked into a winter wonderland in this room. Welcome to the silver room. So this is the final room on the tour, and it's a small room that houses the Cheekwood family collection of china and silver. The room is this dark cobalt blue. So in envisioning a color scheme, I thought of the silver, the blues, the touches of metallic, and again, almost a wintry look with branches. The tree is the focal point, and it's a silvery tree underneath. So that's a good starting point if you're trying to do a very specific color scheme. And then building up with these different layers of blue and silver ornaments. You can see some of the detail here, which I think is beautiful. And then the ribbons are also, I think, a main focal point touch on the tree. And I especially love these velvet ribbons with the pearl and gold embellishment. So a very classical style. To get the kind of movement and energy for a tree like this, it was important to create these swags, ribbon garland swags that are about 2 or 3 feet long that can be tucked in and then woven through with the tails sort of flinging out a little bit. So I love to add interest and movement, and I think especially if you're working with faux trees, it's so important to add natural looking elements. So the branches of silver and gold working all the way up. So all of the trees made in the same way, building the outside, building from the inside to the outside, and having the finishing touch be the gilded birds, branches, or butterflies to create all of those moments of whimsy. So for me, it's always been an exciting time of year. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and so the traditions of going out and cutting a giant noble fir and having the magnificent tree as a starting point, all of the craft projects that I would do with my grandmother and other family members to create personal items, and so that warmth and of tradition layered with now different design approaches, I think, is what I enjoy about decorating for the holidays. And more broadly, I think in general, by creating these festive backdrops for the holidays, we invite friends and family in, and it really, I think, is the backdrop to the meaning of Christmas and the joy and the wonder, celebrating with people.
Today on Homeworthy, we're all about the holiday cheer, with plenty of style, joy, and a few spirited cocktails along the way.
Welcome, I'm the entertainologist, cooker, creator, cocktail maker, Lulu Powers, and tonight I'm hosting some of my friends. We're having a little holiday cocktails, and I'm glad you're here.
Lulu welcomes us into her fabulous Los Angeles home as she gears up for a festive cocktail party with friends. We'll stroll through her dazzling patio and holiday decor, shake up a couple of her signature drinks, and pop into the kitchen where her wonderful friends are whipping up treats for guests. Then it's time to celebrate in true Lulu style. With a background as a private chef to the stars, she loves to share easy ways to make entertaining simple without the stress. From her signature sips to simple yet tasty bites, she teaches us how to make any gathering feel magical.
These are vintage glasses I got in Palm Springs. I mean, it's great. You don't have to have all the same glasses. If you have 3 of this and 4 of this, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you're the boss, applesauce, so you're the entertainologist when it comes to entertaining. Nothing's wrong. You can do whatever you want. Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Lulu Powers. I'm here in Los Angeles, and we're having a Sneakies and Snacks holiday party at my Sneakies. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
You know, being here in Los Angeles, I'm outside all the time. This is like a big hang area. And people always walk by. Our house is like Grand Central Station and just stop in if they hear us talking. And the Sneak Easy's always open. So I love it because it reminds me of childhood, actually. Just people stopping by, like Grand Central. This is my winter tablescape, my holiday tablescape that I did with rock salt, and then I put kosher salt on top. And these are collectibles that I've had for a long time, and I love the holiday season. Oh, it makes me cry, but my family, my mom, oh my God, she was on steroids decorating. We had like 3 trees, and at the end of our driveways at night, you know, in Connecticut, she had on one of those lights, and she'd be out there like doing the wreaths. So, can you see where I get it from? Okay, now we have a little eating area over here, which tonight I'm gonna use to put champagne in the bucket, which I'm gonna use some more of these greens so they look pretty. They're gonna hang over, just gives it a festive vibe. And you know, you gotta have candy cane, right? And my new idea was to put a little cotton candy on top of the champagne. It just makes it fun. And then I'll garnish it with a candy cane. You might see a lot of watermelons around. I love watermelons. I think they're just, I don't know, something about them inspires me. And I have some vintage glasses here that were in my family. Don't tell my sisters I took them. Oh, I didn't exactly take them, but you know what I mean. So it makes it easy to have a grab and go station. Like this station is going to be champagne. So someone can just come in, help themselves to a glass of champagne, or if they want a cocktail, they can enter the Sneak Easy. But it's always nice to have little stations, and it's just fun. I have a great tip for you. When you're having a party, whether indoors or out, get some incense that you like the smell of. And as your guests are coming in your front door, you can put it in the bushes or outside of your house. You can put it in plants in your house. We're gonna light this. You can just stick it in wherever you want to put it. It will just make the whole area smell good. And then as we come in, come on, follow me into my Sneak Easy. This used to be a drive-through, and I always wanted an outside bar. And it was inspired by a bar down in Greenwich Village, because it had a copper bar, Il Buku. This place brings me so much joy. I mean, over here is like, you know, my little workstation. I have paints, I have all this stuff. And, you know, I even sit out here on my computer and work. Now this is gonna be my station of like just edible foods. And then I'm making another station of different kind of cocktails. This is my delicious apple martini that I make Norman. That's a holiday tradition. That I meet my friend Sarah. That's my sister. My friend Tori and Sarah at the Ritz Bar in New York City on Central Park South. And we always have gone for like the last 18 years. And we've always had apple martinis. And the guy, Norman, who was 80 a couple of years ago, makes them. He used fresh grated Granny Smith apples, fresh lemon juice, absolute citron, and a little Cointreau. They're so good. I think about that when I'm going back to New York, which I will be soon. And I will be visiting him. Okay, so I have little trays ready. This is my lemon drop tray, actually. And here's a tray, the Sneak Easy, which is now at Bloomingdale's, actually, and my Nantucket Negroni tray. But at my bar growing up at home, my dad always had a little tray. He would always serve a drink, or even us great fizz sodas on a little tray. So I made some trays and I love them. And this one, the Sneak Easy, is a tribute to him. And my bar here, let me tell you a little story. My dad, the Sneaky, which is AKA a cocktail, came from when my dad would work in his garden in Connecticut, and he'd walk through the bar and he'd say, you know, I'm one of 6 children, and he'd say, I'm just gonna have myself a little Sneaky. That meant a little cocktail, and it would be a little one, and then he'd take it with his little tray and walk outside back to the garden, and he would literally watch his garden grow. So now my whole thing is a Sneaky. So that's, and my niece named this bar, who happens to be living in New York now. She goes, you gotta name your bar. And I go, what should we name it? She's like, the Sneak Easy. And I'm like, perfect. So Brittany, that's all you. I have one thing over here that I want to show, and I think it's good for everyone to know, is that I always keep bottles. I save things. I'm my mom's daughter, 100%. So I think batching cocktails is amazing. So, and you can be prepared. The whole thing about entertaining is being prepared. Like preparation. That's entertaining. It actually applies to all walks of life, but as well as to me, the entertainologist. So here we go. Get a funnel if you don't have a funnel. So I made some cranberry margaritas. And I'm gonna pour them. And a little help, when you lift it up a little, it goes quicker. Like this, see, a little up. And so you can fill all your bottles, like I will do here, and then have them out and ready to go. And if you put them in, actually this is a copper, it's for wine, but you put ice in here and it keeps it cold. So these are actually cold now. Maybe I should have myself a little Sneaky. Cold now. The other thing is trays. Trays are awesome. I mean, it already looks good. If I just put a lot of glasses around, it wouldn't look so good. This just looks good. I have some waters ready. I have some Santa Claus glasses. This is for water. I love silver goblets. I collect them actually. And my husband's grandmother always used to serve water in silver goblets, no matter what, you know, lunch, dinner, whatever. So I started collecting them. I love them. It keeps your water cold, and it keeps your Sneaky cold too if you want to put a Sneaky in them. So, Sneakies and snacks. What kind of snacks? One thing I want everyone to know, you don't have to cook to entertain. I mean, I'm going to show you that, like, goldfish, popcorn, potato chips, just fill big bowls up, and you'll see soon. And you have stuff. Don't get stressed out about entertaining. Nowadays, you can buy everything, even your hummus. You can even buy cut vegetables. I know Whole Foods has them. And I am making a couple things, which I'll take you inside my kitchen. By the way, all my friends are in there helping today, so kudos to them. You'll soon see them. But get one of these. This happens to be mine, whale's tail. It's inspired by Nantucket. But if you have a set of 3, like 3 bowls or 3 this, you can put little snacks in here, and like here, you can put them out on the bar, and you're like ready. You can do, you know what? Do chunks of cheese, olives, M&Ms. Actually, I like candy too, because when someone comes over, you're not sure what they want, but if you put them all out, and if you keep them, your pantry. That's your secret weapon, actually. Your pantry. You don't have to buy big bags of everything. You can buy little boxes of, you know, M&Ms, or you don't have to have big things of nuts. You can get smaller things of nuts. Or the potato chips, you know, they sell them small, like one size, just open it up, boop, and you're always ready for a guest. And as you can tell by what I'm talking about, I love having people over, because for me, it's like joy and happiness. The bar is outside because I always wanted a bar in LA, and I was trying to figure out where I would do an outside bar. And then one day I used to keep 2 long tables here where I would put flowers and all this stuff, and I'm like looking around like this, and I'm like, I could do a bar in here. And so that's when it sparked, and I did a showcase house. up at Greystone, and I saw this woman who made a table out of copper. So I contacted her and told her what I wanted to do, and she designed it, helped me design it. And I wanted firewood for my fireplace out here, and then I wanted a whole section, you know, so I could do anything out here, paint, right, or just sit here with a friend, or just Stevie and I eat here. So it's many uses, and one of my favorite parts too is the ceiling. I took that little thing from the Beverly Hills Hotel, and we painted the ceiling, the two blues of the tiles. So it looks great. And it's a happy place, especially in Los Angeles, because I can be out here all the time, even in the pouring rain. I mean, I'll wear a down jacket out here too. I don't care. It can be freezing cold. My husband, not so much. He's always cold. He grew up in Los Angeles. I'm gonna make 2 cocktails for tonight. A cranberry margarita, and you can make the cranberry sauce before. I mean, just keep it in your fridge on hand all the time. It's perfect. And then I'm gonna make a apple martini, which is an old holiday memory from New York City. So here we go. I'm gonna show you how to make a great cranberry margarita, tequila, Cointreau, and fresh lime juice, and we're just gonna shake it up. And when you make a cranberry margarita, you should always have frozen cranberries and maybe some nice ice cubes that are like in here, ready to go. So always keep some cranberries, no matter what time of year. It's good to throw in a drink. It just makes it look pretty. I love to garnish drinks. Here we go. Meet Sparky, my little guy here. Sparky's a shaker. I already have some ice in it. Since I'm a sneaky pro, I love this tequila actually. It's great to mix things with. We're gonna throw in some tequila, some Cointreau or triple sec. It's 2 parts tequila, a part triple sec, a part lime juice, and a part cranberry juice. And I make it a little stronger because when you put it over ice and the ice starts to melt, your drink will be perfect then. And some lime juice. Now, I just want to do this now and show you before I shake it up and get it ready to go. This is a little agave, just in a small bowl. I made a little basil, lime, sugar and salt mixture to garnish the drink because it's Christmassy, holiday season. I'm gonna put it in a little of my agave. Put it in here. Look at that, beautiful. And it smells so good too. Now, I love ice cubes. So, I'm gonna put this beautiful ice cube. Do you see it? Okay, we're gonna put it in there. I'm gonna shake my cocktail up. Listen, if you don't, it's always great to have pretty ice cubes. It's actually easier than one may think. Okay, so it's best with distilled water because it makes it clear. Okay, here we go. Look at that beautiful color. Perfect. Now when the ice starts to melt a little bit too, it will rise, and I'm gonna throw on a couple frozen cranberries because it is the season. Okay, Shlanta. That's really good. Also, I want to say one more thing. I batched some, and you can just make it, and you can just have your bottles in your refrigerator. I mean, all year round, doesn't matter. But it's always great to have these empty bottles. These are vintage glasses I got in Palm Springs. I mean, it's great. You don't have to have all the same glasses. If you have 3 of this and 4 of this, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you're the boss, applesauce, so you're the entertainologist when it comes to entertaining. Nothing's wrong. You can do whatever you want, but just with conviction. So these are, I love vintage glasses. As you can see, these were actually my uncle's. They're beautiful. And I'm gonna use these for the apple martini. Okay, I talked about my apple martinis. So the apple martinis is Absolute Lemon, and I like writing on the back of these Absolute bottles, Lulu's Booze. So it's Absolute Lemon, fresh lemon juice, some Cointreau, and fresh grated apple. So here we go. Let me just, by the way, this it happens to be a 32-ounce shaker that I designed, and I love the green handle. But if you have guests over, you can pre-batch it and put it all in here and then just add ice, and you don't have to keep making them, even if you have a couple of friends over, because you have them in this. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna grate the apple. I think it's best when you use a box grater because it gives little chunks of the apple, if you can see. In this, I can make 8 cocktails. So you're gonna have little specks like this in your cocktail with your Granny Smith apples. I mean, you could use a red apple, but I love the Granny Smith apples. The one thing I didn't want to forget, a little apple pucker always comes in handy. Just gives it that color green as well with the apples. And remember, if you're grating the apple beforehand, put it with lemon juice, because otherwise it's going to go brown. So you want to make sure you do that. All right, then we're going to put a little lemon juice in. Some more Cointreau. Some more of Lulu's Booze. Whoops. Okay. What did I, here it is. Okay. Okay. Now this, I mean, this is awesome. And see how it's getting very cold. Okay, now we're gonna shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. Woo! Now for this, I'm gonna open it up. You can garnish it many different ways. So we're gonna finish it off. Look at that beautiful light green. I always like to garnish my cocktail no matter what. It could be with a carrot, it doesn't matter. My dad used to garnish his cocktails with snow peas. I just want it to look pretty. I love to garnish a drink. I'm also gonna add some of these pomegranate seeds. Look how pretty, and they go to the bottom. Look how beautiful that looks. Get some right on top of the floating orange. Do you see it? And this is my green apple delicious martini. Enjoy. I love making everything look pretty. So I made these ice cubes, which are like big, like soup cubes. But look how pretty they look. And then when the melts a little bit before my guests are gonna get here soon, and they'll just be, it just adds some je ne sais quoi. So here we go. But they look beautiful. See how clear that is? It's gorgeous. Sometimes I just like to sprinkle stuff on. So that's it. I moved out to Los Angeles to write TV sitcoms. That is not what happened. I became a private chef. My first private chef was Sigourney Weaver. And I worked for Madonna, I worked for Tom Cruise, Will Smith, Herb Ritts, and I always had a catering business on the side. And then I did that for so long, and I was also an editor at House Beautiful. I had a column, Life at Lulu's, which we featured the spa in, and I built it around that. And I just love to entertain. I'm one of 6 kids. I love having people over, and I get energy off of other people. So people are always dropping in and out. So for me, that's entertaining. Even if it's a glass of water and a Cheers in your snack bowl. I made up that term, the entertainologist, and actually trademarked it because I didn't know how to describe myself because I do a lot of different things. I do flowers, I paint, I cook, I do tablescapes, so that's my name for it. But anybody can be an entertainologist. Nothing's wrong in entertaining. And whatever you want to do, you just got to do it. And if you think it looks great, who cares what anybody else thinks? So you don't have to cook to entertain. Have a couple bottles of wine on hand. have some tequila or vodka, maybe some club soda, maybe you keep some juices. You can always put them in your freezer and have your pantry stock, a bag of popcorn, a bag of potato chips. You can put a chunk of Parmesan in the freezer and pull it out. Just be prepared, things you like to serve. Don't try to don't feel like you have to do what I do or do what you just went to someone's house. You're like, oh my God, that was so fancy. You're the boss. Just do what you want. And you know what? It's mainly when you invite people over to have joy and be welcoming, and everyone will have a great time. So I hope you have a great time, but anybody can entertain. Don't be scared. Fear is like fire. You can either cook with it or let it burn you. Cheers. Happy holidays. Well, hello. Come on into the kitchen where the madness happens. Okay, so I have all these friends of mine helping me today, so they're all doing different things. We baked prosciutto today, which I'm gonna put in a bowl. It's so delicious, baked prosciutto. And then we blanched all these vegetables, which we're gonna make a beautiful vegetable tray. All from the farmer's market at Melrose here in Los Angeles. And look at these, actually look at all these little apples I got too, they're delicious. Okay, let's begin. This is my friend Jeff, one of my oldest friends here, my buddy, and he's making, we got these vegetables, he's just making it look pretty. We have, this is gonna be our cheese tray with delicious grapes. This, we already made crostinis, we're just gonna pile them in. And Maeve right here is gonna start filling the snacks up. So, I have to think, there's one thing that Julia Childs always said to have on hand. And I always do. Goldfish. Because you can always put these out. Goldfish, potato chips, see all these snacks? Just keep little things on hand and you can always put them out. So I have a friend, Tony, over here. He's filling some pastry shells up, which we'll get to. Check this out. We did roasted cashews, pretty good. And we're gonna mix them with the garlic and the sage. Now, I just wanted to show you how I did it. I fried some sage and some garlic, and then in olive oil. Then I took that olive oil and did my cashews in it. And here they are. Then we're just gonna I do it in layers. So if you do them all, I could have mixed it together, but I wanted to show you what I did. Then we're gonna put some of this sage, and you can crumble the sage. And the creme de la creme, honestly, is this garlic, which is so good. And put a spoon out with your nuts. And you can garnish it. It looks beautiful. Okay, hold on. Let me just get all these nuts in here. Do another layer. There we go. More deliciousness. Okay, and then one last layer. My parents were great entertainers. And my mom had a catering business, and we always cooked growing up. And my mom always set beautiful tables, so I learned tablescaping and entertaining from my parents. So it all is because of them. And they love food and loved having people over, so that's where I got it from. Wait, hold on, get this. Tony's bringing out these tomatoes. Look at this. Those are yummy, those are good. Let's bring them out. This is done in olive oil, and we're putting it out with crostinis, and we're gonna put some ricotta with it. And you can literally put this in a bowl, put the crostinis around it, people just scoop it onto their crostini. And it's garlic, a little brown sugar, salt, pepper, olive oil, and rosemary. And it's delicious. You can make this and just keep it in a jar. It's a great thing. Here's our snacks we did. Always great. It's always great to have 3. I actually designed this whale's tail, but it's great to have 3. Always, even if you have one friend over, because you can just put 3 things out. So There you go. I made chili yesterday, and I'm gonna keep it in the copper pot because even though people are coming for cocktails and I said 6 to 8, people always end up staying here, so I want to have something. So I'm gonna keep this on the stove with a spoon in it, and when it gets to be like 7:30, 8, I'll put out little bowls and people can just come help themselves, or I'll pass them around. So it's always nice, just in case people say, to have something in your freezer or to make something that's easy and can just be out. And by the way, it's really good chili. Really good. So right here I did a baked brie, and then I did crostini, and there's grapes and hummus and baked prosciutto, which I love, vegetables, my cocktail. These are Nantucket potato chips. They're so delicious. They're shrimp potato chips. And then this is trout roe that we put on top of creme fraiche and scallions. Just kind of put it on everywhere. So good. Thank you, Petrosian. My favorite. And then here, chunks of cheese, radishes from the farmer's market, pickled onions for the pate, and then we have all sorts of crackers. And we have strawberries over here, and then I'm gonna pass around 4 different hors d'oeuvres when more guests come, and it's just gonna be merry and fun, and it's gonna be a fun cocktail party. And this is, see my husband, this is my bartender. He doesn't make sneakies, but he's great at pouring champagne and wine. And Eleanor, look at Eleanor. Hi, Eleanor.
Look at you.
Oh, look at you, I love this.
I didn't know what it was Christmas.
Fabulous,
or
it's
I thought it
Christmas.
was turkey.
No, Christmas, holiday. Meet my dear friend Eleanor. We play tennis twice a week.
We do, we do.
Yes, look at this. Whoa.
Well, you said I should
Oh,
back at the
stars. Stars, I love this. A home means to me just where you can relax. It brings you joy. I mean, I have joy in my living room by myself, moving the books around, changing things around. I could be out here for hours just fixing things. I take pride in my home. I love my home, and I always want it to look nice. This is my friend I call Ethel. When this one, and I have friends like this who come over, this nook, the nook is the room that gets used most. We fit like 8 people on here. We'd clear off this. People would sit on the table. We'd bring 2 stools. Someone would be sitting here. Someone would be 3 right here. Not kidding. The most we've had in here is 11 people. That's a lot.
But my favorite is just the 2 of us.
Yes.
With a little sneaky and conversation. Cocktails and conversations.
Two talkers. But the most favorite part of this room is, my dad passed away, and it's right there, is the painting of my father. So I have coffee with him every morning, and he likes the sneaky, so do I. So he's right there.
Your father and my mother are with the blender up in heaven right now.
With the
making
blender.
margaritas.
Yes, they are. They definitely are.
They definitely are. They
So-
would have hit it off like a house on fire.
The other thing about this room, if you catch out there, it goes right out. I've had people just sit here the whole time and talk away. Oh, look at this. Whoa, Les, that's for you.
Why, thank you. Who sent this over?
I don't know, some guy at the bar who just
you,
winked.
Judy.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Love you, Les. Mwah.
Mwah.
Ethel. Delicious.
Oh, that is good.
Delicious.
Look at this.
What would you like? We have
Anything that you're
margaritas. I'm having Perrier champagne.
Have a sneaky. Sneaky.
Okay, of course. Have a sneaky. Of course.